Douluo, I'm really not a ice god. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176, Leaving, a gift from the Snow Emperor. The simplest location among them is the Danshan, where the soul power from all parts of the previous body is gathered, and it is also the easiest place to condense the soul core point. As for the chest, it is neither as dangerous as the eyebrows nor as easy as the Danshan point generally. When titled Douluo condenses their soul cores, they basically choose the Danshan as the location where the first soul core is condensed, but Lingtian does not intend to do this. He plans to condense the ultimate ice soul core in his chest. As the ice god, Lingtian will not be satisfied with just condensing one soul core point. His target is 3 soul cores. Lingtian is going to use yin and yang complementary soul cores, which are positive and negative, and condense 2 soul cores first point, then try to condense the 3rd soul core point when using the yin yang complementary method to condense the soul core. He can only make the soul core between the brows and the chest soul core complement each other, or the chest soul core and the Danshan soul core complement each other point. If you choose between the eyebrows and Danshan, how do you condense the 3rd soul core? Insert in the middle. Stop making trouble. At that time, I'm afraid that the soul core will explode directly, and there will be no residue left. Now Lingtian is not clear about the location of the 2nd soul core. In order to facilitate the selection of the yin and yang complementary soul core in the future, it is most appropriate to place the ultimate ice soul core on the chest point without any hesitation. Lingtian directly took the ultimate ice soul core into his chest point the moment they made contact. An icy chill hit me. The temperature of the originally cold ice god hole dropped again, now reaching about -200 degrees. And ice flowers in the air began to dance continuously. Bingji and Shang sensed that Lingtian was absorbing the soul core and began to release the ultimate ice soul power to help Lingtian point. At the same time, the ice god mark on his head lit up again, and the ice god mode automatically turned on. The ultimate ice soul power poured into his chest and began to accelerate, helping Lingtian fuse the ultimate ice soul core into his body point. As the ultimate ice energy continued to pour in, the soul core rotated faster and faster. At the same time, the energy inside was compressed crazily again, and a powerful feeling expanded outward from Lingtian's chest point immediately afterwards. The energy was contracted together by the ultimate ice soul power, and then continued to expand toward the surroundings again. With the expansion and contraction again and again, the tremors of the soul core slowly stabilized. The color of the entire soul core also changed directly, turning into dark blue as a whole. Around this diamond-shaped dark blue energy, a silent darkness as black as the night sky appeared again. He succeeded. With the strength of a 50-level Soul King, he successfully condensed the 1st soul core point with the soul core of ultimate ice. His soul power reserve and recovery speed have been improved. However, Lingtian did not wake up immediately. He was running the soul core condensed in his body and began to experience the improvement brought to him by the soul core point in the blink of an eye. Another hour passed. Lingtian suddenly opened his eyes, and 2 rays of cold light shot out, as if they were going to freeze the entire space. But soon, he calmed down his momentum. His eyes regained their composure, and at the same time the icy chill slowly disappeared. If it weren't for Leogu recalling the thrilling scene just now, a trace of fear flashed in Lingtian's eyes. The situation was really dangerous at that time. The main reason is that he overestimated his mental strength. I originally thought that the spiritual power gained by the soul bone this time would be enough to support the consumption of soul core condensation, but I didn't expect that it was still a little short. Don't look at this little mental power. At that time, Lingtian's mental power had been exhausted, and this was the last straw that broke the camel's back. If the martial soul transformed from Leogu hadn't suddenly appeared later to replenish his missing mental strength, not only would the ultimate ice soul core not be able to be successfully condensed this time, but he would also have been severely injured by the violent energy generated by the explosion of the soul core. A week later, the far north point in front of the ice temple. Father God, do you really want to leave? After a long silence, the Snow Emperor couldn't help but ask, looking at Lingtian with eyes full of reluctance. Why? Are you looking like this? It's not like I won't come back. Lingtian smiled gently and joked, but Snow Emperor was silent for a moment, lowered his head, and said in a low voice, now that Father God has left, I don't know how long it will take to return to the far north. Lingtian thought for a moment and said slowly, otherwise, every year from now on. Before Lingtian could finish speaking, Emperor Zhu suddenly interrupted him. Father God, I want to go to the human world with you. What? I want to go to the human world with you. Xiaoxu, you can't go with me. Why? As long as I protect Father God, the last accident will never happen. Xiaoxu, don't forget, you are the king of the far north. Lingtian interrupted the Snow Emperor and said in a deep voice, the spirit beasts here are all your people. If you suddenly leave the far north, who will protect them? When Snow Emperor heard this, he lowered his head and remained silent. Lingtian sighed and continued, since you have become their king, you must be responsible for the entire far north. But I can't let go of Father God. Snow Emperor's eyes were slightly red and his voice was choked with sobs. He didn't want to part with Father God so soon. Snow Emperor's feelings for Lingtian are very pure, and this family affection is pure, and without any impurities at this moment. She is no longer the three kings of the far north, nor is she the 700,000-year-old Ice and Snow Emperor. The current Snow Emperor is just a child who longs for family affection, and does not want her relatives to leave her. I really can't let go of Father God. The Snow Emperor stared at Lingtian with his eyes. His thin lips moved slightly, and he murmured in a low voice, every year from now on, I will go back to the far north. Seeing this scene, Lingtian felt deeply in his heart, and then stepped forward, hugged the Snow Emperor gently, and whispered in his ear, Father God, don't lie to me. I never lie to people. Lingtian smiled softly and continued, and when it comes to the Soul Master competition, I will still need your help. Xiaoxu, won't we be able to meet again then? The Soul Master competition, how long will it take? At most, 2 or 3 months. Then we have an agreement. Well, it's agreed. Let's hook up. Lingtian smiled gently and stretched out his little finger to look at Snow Emperor. Emperor Zhu finally showed a smile and also stretched out his little finger to hook Lingtian's finger, then gently shook it a few times and finally stamped a seal with his thumb. Father God, still remember, this was a promise that Father God taught her to make when she was a child. Just when Lingtian was about to leave, Snow Emperor opened his hand with a diamond-shaped ice crystal suspended in his palm, and inside the ice crystal was a white mist. Father God, this is for you. The Snow Emperor handed the diamond-shaped ice crystal to Lingtian with great care. What's this? Lingtian looked at the ice crystal in his palm, and a curious look flashed in his eyes. This is the protective ice crystal I made for Father God. The Snow Emperor opened his red lips slightly and explained softly, it contains my soul power, which should be able to block the 5 attacks of titled Douluo. When using it, just input the soul power into it, and once the ice crystal is activated, I can feel it immediately. No matter where you are, I will feel it immediately. This ice crystal was made by Snow Emperor last night. After learning that Lingtian was leaving yesterday, in order to prevent similar assassinations from happening again, the Snow Emperor deliberately used his soul power to condense such an ice crystal. Thank you, Zua. Lingtian's heart felt warm, and he solemnly put away the ice crystal. Father God, be careful all the way. Yeah, I know. Lingtian smiled knowingly, and then summoned the ice G-sword with a thought, waved to the Snow Emperor one last time, then walked in the air and quickly disappeared into the wind and snow. Father God, with a flash of his figure, the Snow Emperor came to the top of the snow peak. The view here is wide, and he can see Father. Keep him safe. After a moment of silence, Snow Emperor suddenly said, don't worry, Lord Snow Emperor, Z will definitely protect the descendants of the Ice God. A respectful voice suddenly sounded, and then a slender figure walked out of the wind and snow, and bowed respectfully to the Snow Emperor. Then the figure moved and disappeared into the wind and snow. Snow Emperor said nothing, and still stood where he was silently watching the back of Lingtian that gradually disappeared in the sky. The Snow Emperor turned around and slowly returned to the Ice Temple. When the back completely disappeared, she followed every word of God the Father. She will protect the far north until Father God returns to his peak. She will protect everything here, just like she did tens of thousands of years ago until the true owner of this place returns. The vast snowfield is boundless. A blue light and shadow is constantly passing through Point Brush. After a while, Lingtian's figure paused and stopped at the junction of the far north and the human world. Alas, looking at the snowfield behind him, Lingtian let out a long sigh. When he first recovered the ice god's memory, he didn't know what he was going to do to the Snow Emperor, but at that time, he was in a very confused mood, which led him to ignore the Snow Emperor's feelings. But fortunately, he understood now that it was not too late to make up for this family relationship. Hundreds of thousands of years of waiting, the loneliness in it is unimaginable, but the Snow Emperor has been able to persevere until now. At the same time, Lingtian also understood that the father-daughter relationship between himself and Snow Emperor was inseparable. Instead of hesitating and escaping, it would be better to accept it directly and generously. He has made it clear I have family affection for Emperor Zhu and love for Qian Renxue. That's why this time he changed his previous attitude and no longer addressed the Snow Emperor so deliberately. The news of his death after such a long time should have been spread back to the Qian Dou Empire, right? It's so painful for her. Just when Lingtian was feeling emotional, a cold voice came from behind. My lord. Looking back at the woman in black corset, Lingtian's calm eyes showed no surprise. As early as a week ago, Lingtian had met Renxue before, when she came to the ice temple on her own initiative. At that time, she directly stated her purpose. She wanted to leave the far north with Lingtian and be responsible for protecting his safety and preventing another assassination. At first, Lingtian did not agree. However, after the Snow Emperor's persuasion and the fact that Renxue saved him, Lingtian finally agreed that Renxue would follow him back to the Qian Dou Empire. Chapter 177. Sister Zhu here. Should you be excited? Qiu, you don't have to follow me, just come with me, Lingtian said softly, after retracting his thoughts. Yes, Chen. Z bent down to salute and followed Lingtian, but always keeping half a body distance between the front and back. Two figures left the far north one after another. The two of them were very fast. In only about half an hour, the two of them arrived at Ice and Snow City, the largest city outside the far north. Now that I'm here, I can't help but feel a little nostalgic in my eyes. Young master, have you been here? Well, my first spirit fight started from here. This is where the Lingtian soul fighting journey begins. At the same time, the first soul fighting medal was also obtained in the Ice and Snow soul fighting arena here, which is of far-reaching significance. Morning. Light. What are your orders, young master? Renxue answered with cupped hands. You should be familiar with the situation here, right? Lingtian turned around and asked. Well, it's okay. Renxue nodded. Then, let's find a tavern first to find out the news. Lingtian stretched his waist, squinted his eyes, looked at the dazzling sun, and said happily, after 3 months in the far north, our news is lagging behind. The top priority is to find a few people to understand the current situation on the mainland. Although there have been speculations, after all, after being isolated from the world for 2 years, Lingtian cannot guarantee that the situation will develop in the direction he guessed. In fact, if you want to find out the news, the best place is the headquarters of Kibao Glazed Sect. But Lingtian can't go now. Because once the news that he was still alive was exposed, it would quickly reach the ears of those in the Killing Palace. Not only would he be assassinated by them again, but it would also be difficult to continue with Zuzu's plan that he had originally prepared. So now, he can't let everyone know that he is still alive. And since the Kibao Glazed Sect's headquarters cannot be visited, the best place to gather information is the tavern. Yes, Renxue nodded and led Lingtian towards the nearest restaurant. Soon, the two entered the restaurant. What Lingtian didn't expect was that the news came much faster than he imagined. Just after ordering, before Lingtian could ask the waiter for news, several tables of guests nearby had already started discussing the Soul Master competition. Leo Sun, you just came back from the Qian Dou Empire some time ago. Please tell us how this pan-continent elite Soul Master competition goes. Hey, it's a real loss that you didn't go this time. You don't know that the scene was filled with loud gongs and drums, firecrackers blasting, red flags waving, and a sea of people. They almost squeezed me under the ring. You are so clean that you know how to fart. Okay, third brother, stop being so pretentious and tell me quickly. I've wanted to hear it for a long time. You all know Qian Dou Royal Academy, right? Who doesn't know this? That is the most powerful high-level Soul Master Academy in our Qian Dou Empire. Yeah. You would never have imagined that Qian Dou Royal Academy would be swept out by a little-known academy in less than a minute. Less than a minute. Swept out. That's Qian Dou Royal Academy. Which academy defeated them? Shrek Academy. Shrek Academy. Never heard of it. In addition to Shrek Academy, there is also Kanghu Academy in this preliminaries. These two academies are very brilliant. Unfortunately, the time this time is too urgent. I didn't have time to see the results of the promotion round. I just don't know these two academies. Can Dark Horse Academy get a place for advancement? I see Zuan. The 5 teams that have advanced to the finals in the Qian Dou City division in the past few years are all 4 Element Academy and Elephant Academy. Is it difficult for them to shake any of these teams? I think the group of people behind Lingtian sounded like they were on a business trip. They usually bought and sold goods in major cities. Therefore, although Ice and Snow City was far away from Qian Dou City, they were aware of what was happening in the empire as they traveled back and forth. Very understanding. So listening to the conversation they only saw. Lingtian also basically understood the current situation of the Soul Master competition. As we all know, the Pan-Continental Elite Soul Master competition is divided into 3 stages: the preliminary round, the promotion round, and the finals. According to what the person just said, it should still be between the preliminary round and the promotion round. In addition to the fact that the finals need to be held at the junction of the Qian Dou Empire and the Star Luo Empire, the promotion tournament and the qualifiers are held in the territory of the 2 empires. To select the teams, 30 teams that passed the qualifiers competed in their respective empires, among them the Star Luo Empire team, the Qian Dou Empire team, the Wuhan Palace team, and the newly promoted Lingxue Palace team, which have already entered the finals, do not need to participate in the promotion competition. In other words, the competition at this stage is still in Qian Dou City in the Qian Dou Empire. And Qian Renxue is also in Qian Dou City now. It seems I still have to go back to Qian Dou City. Thinking of this, a figure naturally appeared in my heart. Qian Renxue. I just don't know what kind of emotions Sister Zhu here would feel if she saw herself come back from the dead. You should be very excited. Yes, probably. I hope Sister Zhu won't be too excited. Thinking of this, Lingtian touched his nose with some guilt, but when he thought of Qian Renxue, a faint smile still appeared at the corner of his mouth. No matter what, I can finally see her. Thinking of this, Lingtian didn't intend to listen anymore, so he stood up and left the restaurant. Chenxi, let's go, young master. Aren't we going to listen? Chenxi followed Lingtian and asked softly. That's enough. We are ready to return to the Qian Dou Empire. Yes. As soon as he finished speaking, Chenxi stepped forward to prepare the carriage. As for Lingtian, who was standing in front of the restaurant, his thoughts had drifted back to the Qian Dou Empire, and his blue eyes reflected the figure hidden deep in his heart. Qian Dou Empire, Qian Dou City. After a month of competition, the 5 promoted teams in the Qian Dou City division were announced one after another. They are Divine Wind Academy, Blazing Fire Academy, Thunder Academy, Qianshu Academy, and Shrek Academy. Among them, the 7-in-1 fusion soul skill of Kanghu Academy, the biggest dark horse, shined brilliantly, but it was defeated by Tangsun and others, and all the team members turned into idiots and withdrew from the competition. At this moment, the much anticipated promotion match finally begins. The promotion round of the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite competition is not as lively as the qualifying round. In order to protect the privacy of Soul Masters, and for security reasons, no spectators are allowed to watch the promotion competition. Therefore, in order to facilitate management, the venue was moved from the Qian Dou Great Soul Fighting Arena to the Royal Hunting Ground. The Royal Hunting Ground is located 50 kilometers southwest of Qian Dou City. The terrain in the hunting ground is varied and the area is vast. It is a place where royal personnel hunt and train. 10,000 people from the Royal Knights are responsible for patrolling and guarding They also train here, rotating every 3 months, and training alternately to maintain combat effectiveness on weekdays. No civilians are allowed to approach point. Now it is even more stringent, except for the Soul Master Academy participating in the competition and the members of the judging panel of the promotion competition. No one is allowed to approach this place. Point. The Royal Knights are the strongest force controlled by the royal family of the Qian Dou Empire. It is an elite team built by the royal family of the Qian Dou Empire, and only obeys the orders of the royal family. There are a total of 50,000 people, and the captains of more than 100 people are composed of soul masters. This is also an extremely expensive army point, but its deterrent power is also huge. At least the major kingdoms and principalities under the name of Qian Dou Empire will never dare to act rashly under its threat point. In addition, their equipment is also carefully selected by the royal family. The royal knights of the Qian Dou Empire all wear bright silver light armor. This thick plate armor has extremely strong defense. Even their mounts are carefully selected, and are Qianan horses with a certain level of warcraft blood. The stallion itself has little offensive ability point, but it is extremely fast, carries a huge load, and has extraordinary endurance, so it has always been the best choice for cavalry point. The horse is also covered in armor, and coupled with the weight of the knight and the Mingguang armor, it can't affect the speed of this horse at all. Point. Once such a cavalry team launches a charge, its power must be extremely shocking. Point. At this moment, a total of 15 teams, including the 5 teams that qualified from the Qian Dou City Qualifier Division, were gathered in the center of the hunting ground, waiting for Emperor Zuyi's speech. Point. Among them, the 10 teams from 5 kingdoms and principalities that passed the qualifiers have already arrived. Point. Because they are all far away from Qian Dou City, in order to prevent missing the game, they have all settled in the royal hunting ground 4 or 5 days before the game starts at the same time. They also carry the honor of their respective kingdoms. If they can achieve good results in this qualifier, the rewards they get from the kingdom will definitely be extremely generous. After all, this is Qian Dou City, and they cannot let their talents be poached by the Qian Dou Empire. Point. Instead, they thought about poaching the soul masters of the Qian Dou Empire. Point. After all, who would think that his family has too many talented soul masters? Now in the war on Douluo continent, soul masters have gradually taken the dominant position. If there are more high-level soul masters in that team, the balance of victory will tip to that side. Father, all the participating teams have arrived. Qian Renxue turned her head and said softly, Emperor. Zuyi nodded slightly, stood up from the VIP seat, and loudly said through the Soul Guide, the Pan-Continent Elite Soul Master Competition and the Promotion Competition will officially begin today. In the next 14 days, I hope that all the academy teams give full play to your own strength, and show your due style. The game starts now. As soon as he finished speaking, shouts like a landslide and tsunami sounded in unison. Long live, long live, long live. But this time the shouts came from the royal knights around the venue. Each of them raised their lances and looked at Emperor Zui feverishly. The clanging of the armor and their loud shouts. Chapter 178. This child is the only son of Prince Zhu Crossing. The scene immediately startled the participating soul masters. This is also the reason why the Qian Dou Empire allows members of the royal knights to watch the battle. In addition to having the soul masters fight as a positive guide for them, it also allows the forces of various countries to show their country's strength. Let those principalities and kingdoms that are ready to make moves understand that the Qian Dou Empire is not this to offend. As soon as he finished speaking, the first game started immediately. The first person to appear was Blazing Academy. Their opponent was a team from another principality, named Fabia Academy. The rules are different from the 7-person team battle in the previous qualifiers. The promotion competition is an individual competition. Although the participating teams still sent 7 participating students, they competed one by one. The winner continued to stay on the field, and the loser continued to send students until all the participating students on one side failed. If you are strong enough, you can make a string of 7. The promotion competition is based on personal strength, making it easier for the empire to select talents. The promotion tournament will rank the 15 participating teams to facilitate a bye in the finals, and will not eliminate any team. However, there is still a big gap in strength between the teams from other principalities and kingdoms compared to the 5 teams selected by the Qian Dou Empire. If nothing else, the competition for the final ranking will still be among these 5 teams at this moment. We are at the VIP table, King. The 5 teams selected by our Qian Dou City Emperor. Zhu Yi watched the game below with great interest, and from time to time he turned his head to ask Qian Renxue for his opinion. His face was rosy, and it seemed that he was in good spirits today. Back to my father, I'm more optimistic about Shrek Academy. Shrek Academy has shown good strength in the preliminaries before, especially the Soul Master named Tang San, who impressed me deeply. Qian Renxue and Yan raised his head and said, Tang San. After thinking for a while, Zhu Yi nodded slightly and said slowly, this person is indeed very talented, and he is also the master's direct disciple. King, you can try to get in touch with him. If he can be admitted to the royal family, he will definitely become one of yours in the future. Big help, my son, will go. Qian Renxue said silently for a moment. Alas, Zhu Yi sighed and said slowly, remember that child again. Although he had never met him, he always knew that there was a talented and proud young man beside Qian Renxue. In fact, this is normal. Zhu Yi is the emperor of the Qian Dou Empire. In Qian Dou City, the center of power of the Qian Dou Empire, he was the one who valued the empire's crown prince the most. How could he not know that a young child suddenly appeared? Yes, looking at the waning Qian Renxue, Zhu Yi couldn't help but sigh. The 11-year-old soul sect, the ultimate sword martial soul, and the direct disciple of sword Douluo, is indeed a genius unique in 10,000 point. If nothing unexpected happens, I will definitely become your right-hand man and the cornerstone of the empire in the future. It's just a pity God is jealous of talents. This kid's talent is really strong. If Lingtian can survive, he is destined to become a titled Douluo in the future. What a pity their Qian Dou Empire still couldn't get this young man. Life is so unsatisfactory. Zhu Yi patted Qian Renxue on the shoulder and said warmly, I was just like you back then, but we still have to look forward and cannot be immersed in the past forever. As the future king of the Qian Dou Empire, you have a heavy burden on you. Zhu Yi has seen Qian Renxue's changes during this period, so she took this opportunity to enlighten him. His current physical condition is getting worse and worse. He knows very well that he has no time left. In order to avoid civil strife in the royal family once he dies, he will hand over power to Qian Renxue. Otherwise, as an emperor, how could he disperse his power? I understand. Qian Renxue raised her head and said slowly, Zhu Yi nodded happily. He believed Qian Renxue had understood what he meant. Just when Zhu Yi turned his attention back to the game, Qian suddenly hurried behind Zhu Yi and glanced meaningfully at Zhu Crossing, who was sitting behind him. His Majesty, what's wrong? Zhu Yi asked, frowning slightly. Qian whispered into his ear, while Zhu Yi's expression kept changing. King, I'll leave this to you. I suddenly have something to deal with. As soon as Qian finished speaking, Zhu Yi couldn't wait to get up, left an urgent word, and hurriedly left the VIP table. Father, don't worry. Qian Renxue stood up and saluted Zhu Yi. At the same time, the light in her eyes kept flickering, and in the depths of her eyes, there was a hint of deep luster. Ever since she arrived in the Qian Dou Empire, she had rarely seen Zhu Yi looking so anxious. What did Qian report that made Zhu Yi so anxious? What kind of thing could make Zhu Yi not even care about the Soul Master competition and leave the hunting ground in a hurry? At the same time, just when the promotion competition was going on like a fire. After a long journey for a week, Lingtian and Chengxi finally arrived in front of the gate of Qian Dou City. In order to prevent being recognized by acquaintances, Lingtian specially put on a mask to hide his appearance. Finally, back, walking into the city gate and listening to the familiar cries along the street, Lingtian's eyes showed a trace of nostalgia. I'm finally back after more than a year away, Chen Zi asked at the right time. Young master, where should we go next? Prince, forget it. Let's collect some information first. Lingtian originally wanted to go directly to the prince's mansion, but then he thought about the fact that the Soul Master competition was still being held, and Qian Renxue, as the prince, should no longer be in the mansion, so he decided to see how the situation was now. I know Qian Dou City better than you. Come with me. Lingtian smiled and turned around and said, yes, Chengxi. Nodded and immediately followed Lingtian's footsteps. Qian Dou Empire, the emperor's palace. Point on the snowy night, all the palace maids and guards were dispersed inside and outside the palace. Point at the same time, he ordered that no one should enter the palace grounds without his orders. Tell me again what you investigated in detail. Zhu Yi sat on the bed and said in a deep voice, promise, Qilin. Bowed his hands in salute, then stood up and said slowly, a few days ago you asked me to investigate the identity of the child next to His Royal Highness, and I have already found some clues. According to the investigation of my subordinates, I learned that Lingtian was adopted and raised by Wu Kuo when he was a child, and it was not until he awakened his martial spirit at the age of 6 that he was valued by His Highness the Crown Prince and was taken into the Crown Prince's palace. Wu Kuo. A flash of surprise flashed in Zhu Yi's eyes, and she asked in a deep voice, is this the young master from the Qian Dou Wu family back then? Exactly. After the Wu family was destroyed, Wu Kuo became a destitute beggar. Qilin nodded. I didn't expect that Lingtian was actually adopted by that person. It's a pity. With that guy's talent, if he hadn't been on the wrong team at the time, he would never have ended up where he is now. Zhu Yi sighed with emotion and recalled the past events of that year. After a moment of silence, Zhu Yi put away her eyes and waved her hands. Keep talking. Later, after more in-depth investigation by my subordinates, I accidentally discovered that the time when this child was adopted actually intersected with the time when Prince Snowstar's only son disappeared. Moreover, he and the name of the missing little prince were very coincidental. Point they are all called Lingtian. Then my subordinates followed this clue to investigate and discovered that this child is very likely the only son of Prince Snowstar. Zhu Yi's fingers tapped rapidly on the fence next to the bed. What other evidence do you have to confirm his identity? Just relying on the name and the time of disappearance is not enough to determine the identity of a prince. I also need qualitative evidence. Not to mention that his martial spirit has nothing to do with the swan martial spirit of our royal family. If you don't decisive evidence such as an identity token, mere conjectures and one-sided words cannot prove his identity at all. Zhu Yi stared at Qilin and said in a deep voice, I would like to ask your majesty, if I remember correctly, when Prince Snowstar's son was born, was there a blue mark that flashed between his eyebrows? Qilin asked, cupping his hands. That's right. Zhu Yi nodded. Point the matter of the blue mark was the only clue Zuxing mentioned in order to find the trace of the child after the child disappeared. Qilin, who was the chief steward of the royal family, was also present at the time, so it was not surprising to know about this matter. However, after several searches, no trace of the child was found, and finally we had to give up after a week of searching. Point he also felt sorry for his younger brother because of this incident. Point therefore, Zuxing has always turned a blind eye to his struggle with Emperor Qian Renxue over the years, as long as his bottom line is not touched. Point at the same time, Qilin also continued, when I was in the prince's mansion, I once saw a blue mark flashing between Lingtian's eyebrows. However, because he did not investigate Lingtian's life experience in depth at that time, he did not pay attention to the fleeting blue mark. Point it wasn't until a few days ago, when I was thinking about the missing little prince of Prince Zhu Crossing, that I suddenly realized this. After connecting all the information together, I came to Zhu Yi to report it non-stop. Ah, you sure? Hearing this, Zhu Yi stood up suddenly, gripped the fence tightly with her fingers, and stared at Qilin with a solemn expression. Everything my subordinate said is true. Qilin cupped his hands and said, blue mark, you can't go wrong with this and the previous clues. Zhu Yi is now at least 70% sure that Lingtian is the little prince who disappeared from Zhu Crossing back then. Alas, fate plays tricks on people. Zhu Yi sighed deeply, let go of the fence, and slowly sat back on the bed. Point Zuxing and that child really had a fateful fate. Point after searching for so many years, we finally got information about the child, but now he has died unexpectedly before he could confirm his identity. Point maybe Zhu Yi and this child really don't have the fate between father and son. Chapter 179 in the PRINCEN-039's mansion. I have to meet people. Lingtian's identity. Just investigate here. After A moment of silence. Zui said slowly, also, don't let Zuxing know this matter. There is a line of hope, that it is better than losing hope. Understanding. Qian said, well, let's go down first. Let me be alone. Zhu Yi sighed, and the old face added to wrinkles, and her eyes also showed a little helpless color. Deep in the bottom of the eyes, there was a touch of sadness. Your Majesty, take care of the dragon body. Seeing such a weak snowy night, Qian was extremely sad, and eventually exited the palace deeply after a gift point. At the same time, in the royal hunting ground, the game on the field is still in progress at this moment. The wonderful Soul Division war on the court. Let the guests of the VIPs be full of eyes. At the same time, they also saw several of them who performed well. King, can you talk to the emperor alone? Just then, Zhu Crossing suddenly got up from the seat and walked to Qian Renxue's side with a smile. What's the matter with Uncle Huang? Just say it here, Qian. Renxue narrowed his eyes, and a sneer sneered in the corners of his lips. Slowly, King is not as leisure as the emperor. Before leaving, the father and emperor ordered me to take care of this place, which really couldn't get rid of it. This King comes here today. Just want to remind His Royal Highness that the finals, where the Soul Division competition will start soon. If you can't settle the candidate of the Qian Dou Royal College team, I'm afraid you can't explain it by your majesty. Facing Qian Zuxu's mischief, the smile on Zuxing's face is not diminished. Point originally, because of Lingtian's joining, he had initiated that idea point, but God had his eyes. That made the child dying unexpectedly. Now Zhu Crossing felt that he was going. If you want to do things at the time of the Pan-Mainland Elite Soul Master competition, even if he can't go back to all his status in Cheotang, he must be disgusting. Point anyway. He was not afraid of wearing shoes, and he was scolded by Zhu Yi point. And in case the gambling win, the situation is survived instantly. Qian Zuxu frowned slightly, and thinking, the Pan-Mainland Elite Soul Master competition is the most important competition of the father, which is related to the honor of our heavenly fighting empire. Do you really have to do this step? His Royal Highness Prince here is there. Zuxing's poor dagger was still a smile. This king just wants to recover as the beginning. As long as His Royal Highness bowed his head, there would be no problems in the Royal College. That day point horned and hurt. If King is not remembering correctly, the Emperor is no longer the acting dean of the Royal College of Qian Dou, who will be arranged by someone who sent himself to the Elite Soul Master Contest College. Moreover, Uncle Huang's eyes dare not compliment. Although Qian Zuxu's tone is polite, it is the pain point of Zuxing's pain in every word point, especially the slack college. He did not expect a mediocre college at the time, and it would be the biggest dark horse in the Soul Master contest. He suppressed the third level promotion quota for all colleges. If it weren't for the avalanche, he wouldn't have to find them troubles. However, offending now, he has offended. As a noble prince of the Dou Empire, it is naturally impossible to pull down his face like a small soul teacher academy to apologize. His Royal Highness, you can think clearly. This palace is very clear. Qian Zuxu did not give back, looking straight at Snow Crossing's eyes. Cold voice, the Emperor's age is high or earlier to go home to rest. Don't worry about you at the Royal College of Qian Dou. His Royal Highness insisted on this, and the old man no longer said more. Zhu Crossing saw Qian Zuxu's decision, and his face changed. Point hateful. Looking at the back of Zhu Crossing's departure, Qian Zuxu clenched his fist silently. If it wasn't for Lingtian's accident, how could this guy turn prestigious in front of her? But the Emperor fighting team is also time to determine the members. For today, you can only implement the alternative plan and report the members of the second team to hope to take over the pressure point. The game under the field is still continuing. Point, but at this time Qian Renxue had no mood to pay attention. Qian Dou City. Zenihu Restaurant. Point, this is the largest restaurant in Qian Dou City, and it is also the only building that can see the prince. Point, at this moment Lingtian and Chenzi are sitting in the private room on the second floor of the restaurant. It is the prince's house, and it is also our destination. Lingtian raised the pouring tea, walked to the window to open a window, and his eyes stared at the prince's house below. Lord, you want to go in? Chenzi asked. Lingtian nodded, blowing the layers of ripples, and then gently sipped. Then slowly, there is someone I have to see. At The same time, I returned to the table and put down the tea that was still hot in my hand. There is a soul Douluo, 3 soul sages, and 5 soul emperors on the bright side of the prince mansion. Among them, one of the souls and soul emperors are responsible for preparation and invasion point techniques in secret. There may be titled Douluo. Speaking of which, Lingtian paused and asked softly, "You are sure? Can you take me into the prince's house without a surprise?" Can. Chen. Z didn't hesitate, nodded. "I happen to have a soul skills. Without using other soul skills, as long as the soul power does not exceed my 3rd level, they can hide their perception." "What level of soul power is your soul power now?" Lingtian asked curiously. "Level 94, Chen." Z did not conceal and said his soul level. "Level 94. Lingtian looked at Chen Z curiously and then said, "That's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm a little curious. How many levels of your congenital soul power, and when did you become the title Douluo?" "Back to the Lord. I'm a congenital soul of the Binghuangan martial arts. When I break through the title Douluo, I was 43 years old." Lingtian's eyes were full of surprise. "I did not expect that the talent of Chen Zi was so strong. You should know that Tang Heo, recognized by Douluo on the first day of Douluo, is also because he has a sacrifice of 100,000 years of Soul Beast Blue Silver Emperor. He successfully stepped into the level of Douluo when he was 44 years old. However, Chen Zi broke the title Douluo at the age of 43 with his own talent. With your talent, it should be, that is, the youngest title Douluo on the Douluo continent." Lingtian said sincerely. "These virtual names do not care, Chen." Z shook his head and said seriously, "And with your talent on the Lord, I believe it will definitely break through the title earlier than I." Lingtian smiled gently about this and didn't say anything. "Lord, what are we going to do now?" "Wait here for a while. Wait for her to come back. We will go in together." "Yes, Chen." Z nodded and didn't say much to retreat point royal hunting ground point at this moment. The first day of the game is nearing the end point. Just as Qian Renxue was about to exit, the Ningfeng Zhi on the side suddenly called her. "King, wait." "Teacher, what's the matter?" Qian Renxue asked back. Ningfeng Zhi got up and asked with a gentle voice while he raised the snow white robe, preparing for the teacher to go to the Styles College station. "Is King interested in going with me?" "Teacher, I still have some things to deal with. When I'm in tomorrow, I will go with the teacher." Qian Renxue hesitated and finally shook his head and rejected Ningfeng Zhi's proposal. She really has something to deal with today. The Emperor's team cannot delay anymore, and you have to quickly find a dream god machine and other people to discuss countermeasures. Otherwise, it is over when you register for the Wuxan temple. "Well, then let's talk about it next time." Ningfeng sighed. He thought Qian Renxue was still thinking about Lingtian. When he walked beside her, he suddenly reached out and patted her shoulder gently. "For the teacher, I hope you can come out as soon as possible." Ningfeng said slowly. "Teacher, rest assured, disciples understand." Qian Renxue slightly froze, but soon understood. Nodded. "Just understand." Feng Xi no longer says more. Walking from Qian Renxue. He has to go to see Rangrang now. Nowadays, all of them will not let him worry about. After knowing the news of Lingtian's death. Feng Xi has not seen her baby daughter with a smile for a long time. Even if she is with her students at her Shrek College. Immediately, the two went on each other. A station to Shrek College. One goes straight to the Royal College of Qian Dou. After an hour, the sky gradually darkened. The carriage finally left the Royal College of Qian Dou and slowly drove back towards the Prince Mansion. At this moment, the snow in the carriage looks gloomy. She and Dream Shenji, Bebe Ocean, and Zilan discussed for an hour, which can be discussed that there are only two solutions for so long. Either promise Zuxing's request and let Ocelot return to the Emperor's team. Either adopt the alternative plan and transfer the captain of the Emperor Dao's second team to the team. In addition, there are no other ways. Well, Qian Renxue sighed. His eyes were full of fatigue. She remembered Lingtian again. A complicated pain appeared in the eyes. If Xia Ocean is still there, the situation will not be so passive. Unfortunately, there is no if. Lingsha Temple. They are all them. Thinking of this, Qian Renxue's face turned cold, and a cold color flashed in her eyes. One day, she will step on Pinglingsha Temple. At this moment, Zhu Ling's respectful voice came from outside the carriage. His Royal Highness, Prince's house is here. At the same time, the carriage also stopped slowly. Qian Renxue put away his thoughts and returned a faint thing, and at the same time, he reached out and opened the car mark to get out of the carriage from the carriage. Chapter 180 Ocean, YOUN-039, Reback, right. Beg for the moon. At the same time, on the second floor of Zeniu restaurant. Seeing Qian Renxue stopped carriage, Lingtian's lips curved into a smile. Let's go, it's time. Chen Z nodded slightly, and at the same time, the fourth soul ring lit up, releasing brilliant colors to the surroundings. The fourth soul skill, Bing Yu Wuhan, please. Do not resist. As soon as he finished speaking, a light blue light curtain enveloped Lingtian, but the two people could not be seen outside the light curtain. My lord, I'm sorry. Possessed by Ice Phoenix. As soon as he finished speaking, the sound of Phoenix chirping sounded behind him. Immediately afterwards, Chen Zi clasped Lingtian's shoulders with both hands, and at the same time, a pair of ice blue wings grew from behind him. The next moment, the wings stretched out, and Lingtian flew out of the restaurant and rushed towards the prince's mansion. The process was smoother than Lingtian imagined. The two of them entered the prince's mansion as if they were in a deserted place, but no one among the senior soul masters in the palace was aware of it. Soon, the two entered the house. At this time, Qian Renxue had just stepped into the gate of the prince's mansion. Lord, where are we going? Just stop there. After pondering for a moment, Lingtian pointed to a courtyard where he and Qian Renxue lived together, a courtyard full of memories of the two of them. Chen Zi nodded slightly, flapped her wings, and landed in the courtyard in the blink of an eye. Brush. The two fell to the ground. When Lingtian's eyes fell on the broken stone mountain, a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. I didn't expect you were still here. He remembered clearly the embarrassing incident that happened because of this rocky mountain. 1 year. I finally came back, and this place still looks familiar. Lingtian walked quietly around the courtyard like this, while Chengxi silently followed him in order to maintain the concealment skill. Finally, Lingtian stopped in front of the study. After standing at the door for a moment, he opened the door and walked in. The study was still the same as before, with the faint smell of books and ink blowing towards my face, and there were still densely packed memorials on the table facing the door. Hurry up, Sister Zuo will be back soon. Lingtian came back to his senses. With a faint smile on his lips, he wants to prepare a surprise for Qian Renxue. This was an idea that suddenly came to him in the restaurant before. Then he quickly walked to the side room of the study, and a desk appeared out of thin air in a flash of blue light. Immediately after a thought, dishes with bright colors and fragrant aroma suddenly appeared on the dining table. Without exception, they were all Qian Renxue's favorite dishes. Chen Zi stood aside and looked at the busy Lingtian quietly. When she was in the restaurant, she saw Lingtian leaving mysteriously for a while. At that time, she was still curious about what the Lord was doing, but she didn't expect that he was preparing dishes. However, why have you never seen these dishes? Could it be that the Lord did it himself? In this way, the Lord is not only extremely talented in cultivation, he is also extremely talented as a chef. Thinking of this, Chen Zi blinked and became more curious about Lingtian. On the other side, Lingtian finally laid out the dishes. Lingtian looked at the sumptuous dishes on the table, wiped some sweat from his forehead with relief, sighed with relief, and nodded with satisfaction. At the same time, Qian Renxue had also entered the house. A maid cautiously walked up to Qian Renxue, bowed and asked tentatively, Your Highness, the food is ready. When do you think? I'm not hungry yet. You can take care of it. Before the maid could finish speaking, Qian Renxue waved her hand to interrupt, and then walked straight through the restaurant without even glancing at the dishes on the table. Now that my mind is full of things about the Imperial battle team, why am I in the mood to eat? Also, if there is nothing important, don't disturb me. Qian Renxue suddenly stopped and turned around to tell the maid in a deep voice, Yes, Qian Renxue then walked back to the courtyard and walked directly to the study without stopping. Crunch, the door slowly opened and a familiar smell hid my face. This smell is so familiar. Qian Renxue frowned slightly, closed the door in confusion, and walked into the inner room of the study in the direction of the scent. What's this? As soon as she entered the inner room, Qian Renxue saw a table covered with red cloth. On the surface, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong. But the problem is that she clearly remembers that she never had this table in her study. Could it be that a servant from the palace entered her room without permission? Wrong. The attendants in the mansion are all old people, and they all know Qian Renxue's rules. They will never enter here without her order. Qian Renxue narrowed her eyes slightly. Who could it be? And the question seemed to come from here. So what could be under this red cloth? Driven by curiosity, Qian Renxue slowly walked into the desk. Brush, lifting up the red cloth on the table. I didn't expect that what came into view were exquisite dishes one after another. Qian Renxue suddenly realized. It turns out to be their smell. No wonder she is so familiar with it. But who will cook these dishes? Qian Renxue is very aware of the skills of the royal chefs in her palace. With their abilities, they will never be able to prepare dishes for such a large table. That's all they can do. There are several dishes on the table now, and Xiaoshan has never taught them. Suddenly a ridiculous idea popped into Qian Renxue's mind. Xiaoshan, but Qian Renxue soon shook her head and denied the idea that had just popped up. What am I thinking about? But when she thought of Lingtian, the brightness in her eyes dimmed a bit, and at the same time, a bitter smile appeared on her lips. Intentionally or unintentionally. I'm not in the mood to think about these things either. Maybe they learned it by themselves. Just when she was about to ask her servants to withdraw, she suddenly picked up a pair of chopsticks. By some strange coincidence. Pick up a piece of fish. After hesitating for a moment, he opened his red lips and put it into his mouth. The chopsticks suddenly fell to the ground. Qian Renxue's pupils shrank suddenly, her eyes filled with an unbelievable look. This smell. She is familiar. She is very familiar. It seems to be Xiaoshan. Definitely Xiaoshan. Only Xiaoshan can make this unique taste, which no one else can make. Xiaoshan, you're back, right? Xiaoshan, you're back, right? Qian Renxue suddenly turned around. The angel mark between her eyebrows lit up, and at the same time, powerful soul power filled every corner of the room, carefully searching for that familiar figure inch by inch. 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, time passed by, but she didn't find the figure. The angel mark between the eyebrows dimmed, and at the same time, the surging soul power receded like a tide. Chapter 181. Excited tears. Qiu. I knew. How could it be possible? My little heaven. As he spoke, he bit his red lips tightly and laughed at himself, which was full of bitterness. At the same time, 2 lines of clear tears slowly slid down the corners of his eyes, and the crystal tears fell heavily to the ground. Pat, she knew it clearly, but she still had some illusions. If I had left you in my house back then, would you have never left? Unfortunately, this question is destined to have no answer, because Xiaoshan is no longer here. Thinking of this, sadness welled up in my heart. In a daze. His feet were unsteady, and he staggered and fell backwards. Bang. Just when Qian Renxue was about to fall, what was waiting for her was not the cold ground, but a soft and warm embrace, with a pair of white and slender palms surrounding her waist. But Qian Renxue didn't feel any warmth. Instead, it made her instantly alert. This is a great place for study. Even if the maids want to come in to clean, they still need Qian Renxue's permission. The servants in the palace will not break into this place rashly. So the person behind her is definitely not someone from the prince's mansion. Who could that be? Could it be someone from Wuhan Palace? That woman had always been worried about her, so it was understandable that she sent someone here. Or was it someone sent by Zhu Yi to test him? It's been dusk on the snowy night recently, and I wanted to test the possibility of myself being the heir, or someone sent by the Star Luo Empire to assassinate him. Now that it is certain that he will become the future emperor of the Qian Dou Empire, there is a certain possibility that the Star Luo Empire will send someone to assassinate him. So, who sent this person? Regarding the identity of the person behind her, Qian Renxue had countless speculations running through her heart. However, in order to avoid exposing her identity, she decided to stay put for the time being. Wait until you find out his identity. Who are you? Qian Renxue raised her eyebrows and shouted sternly, "This is the Crown Prince's palace of the Tian Dou Empire. You dare to break into my study without permission? Are you provoking the majesty of our Tian Dou Empire?" Just when Qian Renxue was testing her identity, the sudden laughter in her ears made her heart tremble. "Sister Zua, have you even forgotten me?" This voice is very familiar to her, extremely familiar to her. When the voice suddenly sounded from behind, Qian Renxue froze. Her pupils shrank suddenly, as if she had realized something. She covered her slightly open mouth with her hands, and her delicate body could not stop trembling. She had guessed countless identities before, but she never guessed that the person behind her would be the person she longed for. Zio. She turned back suddenly, as if she had exhausted all her strength. After seeing that familiar handsome face, tears fell down in an instant, without any warning. "Sister Zua," Lingtian responded softly and walked out slowly. White hair satin holds her hair, and her ice blue hair ends flutter on her shoulders. She wears a long dark purple dress with wide sleeves, long eyebrows like ink, and a pair of rare blue eyes embedded in the jade face. After a turn, dust appeared in the distance in the misty sky. At this moment, he looked at Qian Renxue, his eyes full of tenderness. The two of them looked at each other, and the atmosphere became a little tense for a moment. Qian Renxue couldn't help but rub her eyes turning a little red. She wanted to step forward, but hesitated, fearing that this was a dream and her actions would shatter the dream. "Sister Zua, I'm back." Thousands of words finally converged into these 8 simple words at the same time. A smile appeared on his face, and he looked at his sister Zua quietly. Small Qian Renxue wanted to say something, but she was too excited to say a complete sentence. These words kept echoing in her ears, making her feel a little dazed. Tears blurred her vision, and she couldn't see the face of the person in front of her clearly. Just listening to the words "I'm back" and the word "Sister Zua" made her heart feel sour. Zio is her Zio. Lingtian's eyes were full of apologies, and he slowly walked to Qian Renxue and held her in his arms. "Sister Zua, I'm late back." It wasn't until a pair of strong arms held her in his arms, a familiar breath enveloped her, and Qian Renxue finally turned around, that she was finally sure. This time, it's true. Not a hallucination, not an illusion, not a dream. Zio, I'm really back. Zio. After hearing these words, Qian Renxue could no longer hold back. Her soft hands hugged him tightly, as if she had exhausted all her strength. Pat at the same time, unstoppable tears slid down his cheeks drop by drop. "Isn't that right? Don't apologize. Just come back." Qian Renxue stretched out her hand to cover Lingtian's lips, while she snuggled tightly against his chest and muttered, After hearing these words, Lingtian's eyes instantly turned red. When he saw Qian Renxue for the first time, he almost couldn't help but walk out of the barrier. Those familiar faces, those familiar people, that haggard yet somewhat strong look, all struck at his heartstrings. His absence this year has left her with waiting and worry. These are the only things he left behind. One can imagine. What a heavy blow it was to her when she learned the news of her death. "Sister Zua, I will never leave you again." Lingtian took a deep breath, looked at the person in his arms, and said carefully. After this separation, Lingtian understood his feelings for Qian Renxue and Qian Renxue's feelings for him. He never wanted to be separated from her again. Good. Qian Renxue pressed her head tightly against his chest, listening to his powerful heartbeat, her red lips slightly hooked. It was so nice to be able to truly feel his presence. Time passed by minute by second, and the two of them just hugged each other in place without saying a word for a long time. "You cooked all those dishes. Who can do it except me?" Qian Renxue suddenly asked. "Zio, when did you come?" "You came back not long ago," Lingtian replied casually. "Then why don't you come out earlier and watch me make a fool of myself?" Qian Renxue recalled the scene just now. Her face turned slightly red, and she pinched the soft flesh around Lingtian's waist angrily. Still a little upset, He raised his hand and punched him a few more times. Naturally, it wouldn't hurt if he hit his body with such force, but Lingtian still pretended to be in pain, grinning and winking in front of Qian Renxue. HMPH, let you see me make a fool of myself again. Qian Renxue loosened her fingers and raised her chin proudly. But when he thought of his eyes being red and his face stained with tears, his face suddenly turned red, and he quickly buried his head in Lingtian's chest. Chapter 182, The Open Secret Room for the Moon. Wrong, I will never dare next time. Lingtian worked hard to laugh, nodded in and echoed the road. You turn your head over. Aha. At the same time, Qian Renxue took out the handkerchief and quickly wiped the tears marks on his face. At this moment, watching the dawn of the two people flirting, I finally couldn't help but ask, Lord, do I want to go out first? Waiting here to watch the morning. Z, who was hugging the two, was embarrassed. Lingtian was slightly froze, and after a while, I remembered it. There is another person in the room. Just now I saw Qian Renxue excited for a while, and even forgot that Chen Z was also in this study. That morning. Z, let's go down first. Lingtian said slightly. Yes, the Lord. Chen Z was relieved, and he took a gift to Lingtian, and then retreated slowly. Zhao. Xian, who is she? Looking at the dawn that disappeared, Qian Renxue was shocked. She didn't expect that there were still people in the room, and it took so long in the room, and the soul power of his soul level did not notice anything. How strong is this person's strength? Soul Douluo, or the title Douluo. How can there be such a powerful person around Ziocean? It's mine. Guard. Thousands of Zuxu Liu Mei picked up, but it was even more doubtful. She is not doubting the relationship between Lingtian and Chenzi. Since sending the letter from the killing capital, she has understood Lingtian's heart. The reason for asking is the motivation for this powerful soul master who suddenly appeared next to Lingtian. It is undeniable that Lingtian's talent is very strong. But it is not to let a soul Douluo, maybe even the strong man of the title Douluo, as a guard. What would she do when she came to Lingtian? Ziocean, I think Sister Zhu here. Don't worry about it. Before Qian Renxue finished speaking, Lingtian explained the way. The reason why I can survive this time is thanks to their help. What's the matter with the assassination? Why do I send people in the past say that you are dead? Qian Renxue heard Lingtian mention the assassination, and he asked quickly. Just as the atmosphere was gradually dignified, a voice interrupted the words of the 2-Guru at this time. Qian Renxue was covering his stomach with both hands, and his cheeks rose with his head. His cheeks rose. 2 red glows appeared. Because of the Emperor's team, she didn't eat much this day. Under the stimulation of the meal smell in the room, the stomach inevitably called to protests. The scene is very embarrassing for a while. Otherwise, let's talk while eating. Lingtian held back his smile and asked tentatively, Thousands of snow sounds like mosquitoes and flies, and nodded with blushing. After a quarter of an hour, Valley say it is to say, but basically only eat it. Ziocean, don't give me a clip. Qian Renxue held Lingtian's chopsticks and helplessly pointed out the rice bowl that had already risen. Sister Zhu, eat slowly. Don't you want to know the assassination? I just tell you about it. Lingtian put down the chopsticks. The positive road. Qian Renxue nodded and signaled Lingtian to continue talking. She really wanted to know now what happened to Lingtian in this year. Lingtian did not hang appetite and slowly told his experience in killing the capital. Although most of the crisis and bloody experiences were brought, Qian Renxue still heard the difficulty and crisis in it. Although she did not tears easily, she couldn't help but sour nose. Soon, when I talked about leaving Hell Road, after I was practicing for a year, I successfully walked out of the inside. Just when I was about to return to the Xiantao Empire, I was assassinated by a title Douluo and Ling Shadan. Fortunately, at the most critical time, I got the help of another title Douluo, which was the morning light in the room. After she helped me drag the title Douluo, I happened to meet the seniors you sent by Sister Zhu here. When we were about to leave here, we were assassinated by Lingsha Temple Zuyan. You all know after that, although I was sent to a mysterious place, although I was stabbed in the chest, Speaking of which, Lingtian suddenly stopped. I saw the blue light suddenly flickered, and then the ice god marks in the heart of the eyebrows slowly emerged. At the same time, a majestic atmosphere is instantly released. I got the inheritance of the deities there, the name, Ice God. At the same time, Lingtian's eyes flashed with a touch of blue light, and said slowly, "In the mornings he will protect me. It is precisely because of my identity of the Ice God." He didn't believe Qian Renxue, but it was not the time now. When the time is mature, he will explain it clearly. Since Zhu Temple regards him as a heir of the Ice God, and in the future mornings he will follow himself, then push the boat in the water, to explain what he escaped in his death. Compared to the Silver Dragon King in the Stardao Great Forest, it is better to accept human forces. Ice God Qian Renxue's pupils shrank, and shocked in the eyes. Lingtian pointed to the mark on his eyebrows and explained, "This mark on my head is the proof of the gods. Is this a deity proof?" Qian Renxue suddenly sounded the angel mark on his forehead. At the same time, she remembered the huge angel statue in the martial arts hall. Every time she approached, she could feel a sacred power. That is also a deity proof. Note, at this time, Qian Renxue didn't know the angel deity. The author gently went to the original study to verify it. For details, you can see chapter 586. Don't think about it, Zhaoshan. You are favored by the gods. Qian Renxue sincerely congratulated Lingtian. Although she did not know that she had a deity inheritance, she still had a certain understanding of the legend of beggar. With the talent of Sister Zhu here, she will definitely get the gods. Lingtian said deeply. Little sky. Qian Renxue's face changed slightly, and after a moment of silence, he looked at Lingtian slowly. "Do you now know my real identity?" "No matter who Sister Zhu is." Slightly paused for a moment, Lingtian said seriously, "I'm still the previous sentence. No matter who you are, you will always be the one I cherish the most." Hearing this sentence, Qian Renxue's face was slightly reddish. After hesitating, she finally made up her mind, and walked to the desk quickly, swinging the switch under the desk case, and the bookcase moved slowly back. Click to move slowly, revealing a dark passage. "Zhao Shan, come in with me." After speaking, Qian Renxue had no explanation, and took the lead in entering the passage. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183. Sister Zhu here, I like you. Lingtian did not hesitate, and quickly followed her footsteps, and the two of them entered the secret passage one after the other. Tap tap tap. The passage was very short, and the two of them quickly entered the secret room. Seat. Qian Renxue lit the candles around her with ease, then pulled out 2 chairs, and motioned for Lingtian to sit next to her. Sister Zhu. After looking around, Lingtian looked at Qian Renxue doubtfully. "Shh, listen to me. This is the safest place for me in the entire prince's mansion. What I'm going to say next is top secret. First of all, I deceived you. I'm not Zhu King. My real name is Qian Renxue. I'm from Wuhandian, the saint of the elders hall. I was sent to Zhu King since I was a child, to learn his words and deeds, with the goal of one day completely replacing him, and becoming Zhu King. Later, I succeeded to replace him, and become the crown prince of the Tian Dou Empire, Zhu King. After becoming Zhu King, I have been careful in my words and deeds, and I have not shown any flaws in this regard. How did you see it?" Qian Renxue's eyes showed a hint of doubt and confusion. She thought about it for a long time, but still couldn't figure it out. Where did she reveal her flaws and let Lingtian see that she was not Zhu King? Yin Yang creation pill. Yin Yang creation pill. Lingtian smiled slightly and said, "Yes, it is the yin and yang creation pill. The reason why it is called yin and yang is not only that it is made from 2 herbs with opposite properties, but also because it can make the pill. There is a subtle feeling between men and women, and it is through this that I determine the identity of Sister Zhu here. This is not nonsense point. In addition to improving the soul master's soul power, the yin yang creation pill can indeed induce a reaction in the soul master who takes 2 pills. However, Lingtian did not tell the whole story point. Moreover, the real function of this induction is to improve the compatibility of martial souls, so that soul masters who take the same yin yang creation pill will have a certain possibility of obtaining martial soul fusion skills. The reason why Lingtian was disappointed that day was precisely because of this. Although there was a connection between the two of them, their martial spirits did not react at all. I see. Qian Renxue showed a look of sudden realization. She said that she had hidden herself so well. How could Lingtian discover her identity? It turned out to be because of the yin yang creation pill. Sister Zua, I want to see your true face. Really? Want to see it? Then let you see. As soon as he finished speaking, Qian Renxue's body flashed with golden light. The next second the original gentle and elegant Prince Zuking of Qian Dou disappeared and was replaced by the extremely talented Saint Qian Renxue of Wuhan Palace. She looks like she is in her early 20s, with skin as good as snow, a straight nose bridge, slightly slender eyes, and a somewhat majestic look. She looks like she is only 18 or 19 years old, but she has an abnormal figure. Of plumpness. There is a small serif mark between her eyebrows. Her golden eyes are as calm as water, and there is no energy fluctuation in her body. She looks like an ordinary person. She was wearing a golden palace dress. The dress was one piece, and seemed to be woven with gold thread. It didn't have too many patterns, and was simple and elegant in style. The golden stand-up collar protected her snow white and slender neck, and her long golden hair was scattered casually behind her without combing it carefully. It formed a sharp contrast with her neat palace attire. Beautiful. Valley really beautiful. She is definitely one of the most beautiful women Lingtian has ever seen. Zua, sister, Lingtian, was prepared in his heart, knowing that Qian Renxue's true appearance must be beautiful, but when he actually saw it, he still couldn't help but be amazed by it. Now he realizes that he seems to like Qian Renxue more. Could it be that he is a face controller? No. Lingtian shook his head, feeling that he should not be such a superficial person. Otherwise, why didn't he have feelings for Ningran or Zhu Zuking? Thinking of this, Lingtian nodded and firmly denied that he was a face controller. At the same time, looking at Lingtian, who was stunned on the spot, Qian Renxue raised the corners of her lips slightly, winked and asked with a smile, "Zai-Ocean, do I look good?" Nice. Lingtian came back to his senses, his eyes full of admiration. He was at a loss for words. Apart from that, I don't know what words can be used to describe Qian Renxue's stunning appearance. Haha. Qian Renxue pursed her lips and smiled. The smile is like a delicate rose blooming on the cheeks, and the graceful eyes are full of smiles. The same compliment, spoken in Lingtian's mouth, made Qian Renxue feel happy. Is there no other way to describe it? Qian Renxue asked with a smile on her lips. Sister Zua's beauty cannot be described in words. Lingtian retracted his gaze and said seriously, "Really?" Qian Renxue asked with a smile. "Really?" Lingtian said seriously. Qian Renxue held her forehead with one hand, crossed her legs, and looked at Lingtian lazily, with a slight smile on her lips. "Zai-Ocean, I remember in that letter, you said that you wanted to wait until you came back from the killing city to say something to me. Now that you are back, you should be able to say that sentence, right?" Qian Renxue slowly squinting her beautiful eyes, her thick eyelashes fluttering in a charming way, and a gleam of intelligence flashed through her eyes. After a moment of silence, Lingtian suddenly walked up to Qian Renxue. Looking at Qian Renxue's peerless face, so close at hand, the thoughts in his heart instantly surged up like a tide. Apart from the old man and the teacher, Qian Renxue was the only person who was truly kind to him. Without Qian Renxue, he would not be where he is now. Although he was born with full soul power, a genius who has not grown up is nothing. Even being able to enter the Qibao glazed sect and become a disciple of Sword Dao Chenzin was all thanks to Qian Renxue's connections. Otherwise, how would he, an ordinary person, be qualified to come into contact with the behemoth of the Qibao glazed sect? Qian Renxue was slightly stunned and said, "Zai-Ocean, what are you, Sister Zua? I like you." Lingtian stood in front of Qian Renxue, his ice blue eyes full of love and affection, and he spoke seriously every word. He likes Qian Renxue. He really liked it. Ever since he came back that time, he found that Qian Renxue had left an indelible shadow in his heart. I don't know, when I started to fall in love with her, it turns out that Xiaoshan also likes me. Qian Renxue smiled, tightened her black hair, and raised a bright smile at the corner of her mouth. Her delicate little face suddenly came to Lingtian, and the heat from her mouth sprinkled on his face. I like Xiaoshan too. As soon as she finished speaking, Qian Renxue slowly lowered her head and left a gentle kiss on her forehead. Chapter 184 Man 039's Dignity. Asking the moon. Although she had been warned by Bibi Dan once before, Qian Renxue no longer intends to suppress her true feelings for Lingtian. She didn't want to regret her original hesitation. When she lost Lingtian, she has really fallen in love with Lingtian. His figure has been firmly imprinted in her heart, and her joy and happiness are all moved by him. Qian Renxue doesn't want to lose anymore. This is also her choice point, since she already knew that she could not live without Lingtian. She would not hesitate. Lingtian is the only person she likes. Since she likes him, she must hold on tightly, lest one day he is really taken away from her. Zua, sister. At the same time, Lingtian, who was suddenly attacked, looked at Qian Renxue with a look of surprise in his eyes. I was kissed by Sister Zhu here. Kissed? The plot is wrong. It was obviously me who confessed first. Why should Sister Zhu here take the first step? This is the dignity of a man. As a man, this is one of the few rights he has, and must not be lost. Looking at Qian Renxue's seductive red lips, Lingtian pondered for a moment. His eyes flashed, and he pretended to be confused and said, Sister Zua, what did you just say? I said, I also like Xiaoshan. Qian Renxue came close to Lingtian's ear, but before she could finish her words, this time, I heard it. A smile flashed in Lingtian's eyes, and then he wrapped his right hand around his slender waist, raised his left hand and slowly stroked Qian Renxue's smooth cheek. Just as he guessed, it was smooth and soft. She is indeed the only woman that I have identified in my life. Qian Renxue felt Lingtian's palm caressing her face, and there were ripples in her heart. A shy emotion spread in her heart. He had never been so close to a man since he was a child. This is the first time someone touches my cheek. However, she did not reject this feeling, but it was a strange feeling. Her body stiffened uncontrollably, and at the same time, there was an inexplicable feeling of joy deep in her heart. Qian Renxue wanted to stop her, but for some reason, whenever she saw Lingtian's affectionate gaze, she would silently take back the words that were on her lips, letting Lingtian's hands caress her cheeks. Forget it. Let him touch it. Just think of it as compensation for Xiaoshan after not seeing him for a year. Anyway, it's not a big deal if he touches it. Thinking of this, Qian Renxue felt relieved, and began to concentrate on enjoying the indescribable and graceful feeling. When her cheek touched Lingtian's palm, a strange feeling quietly arose in the hearts of the two of them. Lingtian gently stroked Qian Renxue's face, looked at the attractive little mouth like a cherry, and with a thought in his mind, he grabbed Qian Renxue's little hand and slowly moved forward. Qian Renxue wanted to reach out to block it, but found that her arm had been grasped by Lingtian. Seeing his face getting closer and closer, their breaths intertwined, she swallowed, not knowing what to do. Xiaoshan, is it true that you won't come? Just as his lips were about to touch her, her face was hot and it spread to her earlobes regardless of the mature and charming appearance Qian Renxue showed just now. In fact, those are all seen in the storybooks. In fact, she is really just an ignorant little girl emotionally. Once it actually happens to me, I will be so panicked that I don't know what to do. As the two lips are getting closer and closer in contrast, Qian Renxue couldn't help swallowing again, and at the same time, his fingers were tightly clenched together. Xiaoshan, what do you want? What do you do? Qian Renxue trembled. Sister Zhu here, I also want to kiss you too. Lingtian listened, lowered her head to get close to Qian Renxue's earlobe, and asked softly, can you? Go what to do? Xiaoshan is going to come true, dear, or not kiss. At this moment, Qian Renxue is no longer the strength of the time just now. Start. Thousands of Zhu gritted his teeth, and closed his eyes tightly. I saw her blushing, her eyes closed tightly, the long eyelashes trembled gently, and her breathing was a bit panic, as if her heart at this time, say, good in advance, just kiss. As soon as the words fell, looking at the face close at hand, the blush on the snowy face at this moment has spread to the head. Lingtian smiled lightly at the corner of his mouth, slowly closed his eyes and finally kissed the red lips. Her lips are a little cold, but very soft, just like jelly. The breath of each other lingers with each other. After a long time, the lips are separated. Both of them were reddish, but their eyes were full of friendship. Lingtian held Qian Renxue and said seriously, Sister Zhu here, I like you. The white jade fingers were placed between the lips, thinking about the feeling of kiss just now. Qian Renxue's face could not help but flush, and shyly patted the hands of his waist with a white look. Don't get off the topic. Don't you kiss if you say it. Qian Renxue said, we did kiss it just now. Lingtian blinked, looking at Qian's hang snow road innocently. Huh. Qian Renxue's face was red, and my heart said, I said, do you mean what you said? Thinking of this, she was so angry that Lingtian was so angry. Sister Zhu here, why are you playing with me? Lingtian said painful, I want to pinch you, can't you? Qian Zufeng's eyes were horizontal, and he said with his waist, yes, of course. Sister Zhu here continues how this is almost the same. Qian Renxue raised his chin proudly. Although he was still on a small face, his eyes were smiling. Looking at the young man in front of him, Qian Renxue couldn't help feeling after so many years. Whoever thought that, only when she felt that her talents were good, they would just earn the young man in the prince's house, and the status in her heart continued to deepen, until she became the one she loved in her life. However, Qian Renxue does not regret it. Even if you give him another chance, she will like Ocean. I like this little boy who is younger than himself, because in the eyes of Qian Renxue, Lingtian is the most special existence. No one can replace it. It is a light that cuts through his dark years. When she encountered Lingtian, she discovered the other side of the world. When she encountered Lingtian, she knew what it means to like and love. At this moment, Lingtian's chin was on Qian Renxue's shoulder, his hands were surrounded by his waist, and the hot air sprayed on her earlobe. Sister Zhu here, when did you start to like me? Probably 1 year ago. Well, it should be from that time I realized myself I might like your little guy. Chapter 185. The only thing I like is you beg the moon. A trace of memory flashed in Qian Renxue's eyes, and she said slowly, when I knew that Ning Fengzi was going to get engaged to you and Ning Rongrong, my heart felt as uncomfortable as being pierced by a knife. It must have been from that time I just realized that I probably fell in love with this little guy like you. Sister Zhu, don't worry, the only one I like is you. Lingtian said softly. Really? How can Ocean prove it? A sly smile flashed in Qian Renxue's eyes. Of course it's true. Lingtian let go of Qian Renxue's arm and walked around in front of him. With a thought, a box with golden jade edges appeared in his palm. Look, this is the gift I brought you when I came back this time. Qian Renxue took the jade box, a flash of surprise in her eyes. She asked just now just to tease Yao Lingtian, but she didn't expect that he actually prepared a gift for her. What's inside? Qian Renxue asked curiously. Sister Zhu, you'll know after you open it and take a look. Lingtian said with a mysterious smile. Click. When the brocade box was opened, a ball of fiery golden light shone, and when the golden light subsided, a golden elixir was revealed. What's this? Even though she didn't know what it was, Qian Renxue could tell just from the hot breath on this elixir that this elixir was definitely not ordinary. The inner elixir of the 10-headed blazing sun snake is also my biggest gain in the killing city this time. Lingtian said softly. Needn't. Qian Renxue was slightly stunned. She had never heard of the term inner alchemy. The 10-headed blazing sun snake is a head of snakes, and the ancient beast possesses the fire attribute of the sun. As we all know, after the soul beast on the Douluo continent dies, its soul power will be condensed on the soul ring, but the 10-headed blazing sun snake of the ancient beast is different from them. After his death, his power will be condensed in the inner elixir, and this inner elixir stores most of the abilities of the 10-headed blazing sun snakes, and it also has an effect similar to that of a soul ring. Qian Renxue nodded thoughtfully, raised her hand, held the inner elixir in her palm, and put the fire into her hand. Suddenly, a strange feeling filled her whole body. It contained huge fire attributes, which made her feel frightened. By absorbing it, you can get a soul ring, Sister Zua. Take it and digest it with your martial soul, and it will naturally turn into your soul ring. The 10-headed blazing sun snake I killed will definitely not be worse than any 10,000-year-old soul beast. Moreover, as an ancient beast, it should have some special benefits when it becomes your soul ring. I can't tell you exactly what it is. I won't know until you absorb it. Qian Renxue looked at the inner elixir and then at Lingtian. This inner elixir is too precious. This was originally prepared for you, and the fire attribute power contained in it is exactly the opposite of the nature of my martial soul. There is no use keeping it in my hands. Qian Renxue's eyes were burning, and she forgot what she wanted to say. As soon as she got it, she felt the strong fire attribute power, and she knew that this inner elixir would be the perfect one to be her 8th soul ring. But Lingtian gave such a precious thing to himself. Do you like it? Lingtian asked. Qian Renxue hesitated for a moment and nodded heavily. Then, Sister Zua, just put it away and wait until the next time you have a soul power breakthrough to take it. It will naturally become your next soul ring, Lingtian said with a smile. Thank you, Xiaoshan. There is no need to talk about this between us. Qian Renxue nodded gently, and a warm current reverberated in her heart. At the same time, looking at Qian Renxue's alluring red lips, with a thought in his mind, Lingtian slowly closed his eyes and moved his head closer. Woo. Lingtian's lips were blocked by Qian Renxue's jade hand. Qian Renxue looked at Lingtian with a half smile. Xiaoshan, what do you want to do, Sister Zua? Your lips are dirty. I want to wipe them. Lingtian, who was caught at the scene, said without changing his expression, and at the same time he blinked his eyes sincerely. Hearing this, a few black lines appeared on Qian Renxue's head, and her jade hands quietly grasped a piece of soft flesh on Lingtian's waist. The next second, twist it hard. Lingtian suddenly took a breath of air conditioning. This time it was not painless and itchy as before, it was really painful. Will you still be skinny next time? Qian Renxue let go of her jade hand and asked with a smile. No more skin. No more skin. Lingtian rubbed the soft flesh on his waist and waved his hands at Qian Renxue. He didn't notice that the skin was too much for the moment. If I had known it, I would have lost my temper. Xiaoshan, let's go out first. If we leave for too long, we will be discovered easily. They had been in the dark room for almost an hour. Although the servants in the palace would not easily enter the courtyard, it would be difficult to explain if someone broke in and found that they were not there. Why are you still standing there? Qian Renxue walked for a while, looked back and saw that Lingtian hadn't followed and asked suspiciously. My back hurts and I can't walk anymore. Lingtian rubbed his waist and looked at Qian Renxue without saying a word. You, Qian Renxue quickly understood what Lingtian meant, with a helpless smile on her face, and then turned around and walked to Lingtian, slowly leaned down and kissed him gently on the forehead. Damn, and there was a soft touch on my head. Ah, you satisfied now? Qian Renxue looked at Lingtian and said with a smile. It's strange. My waist stopped hurting instantly. Lingtian walked to Qian Renxue with a smile, stretched out his palm and said, Sister Zua, let's leave quickly. You. Qian Renxue poked Lingtian's forehead and then placed her white jade hand on Lingtian's warm palm. The catkin is held in the hand, as warm and moist as jade. Maybe it's because I know I've seen Qian Renxue's true face, but the feeling of holding hands this time is completely different from before. A strange feeling echoed between the two of them. Tap tap tap. The two of them walked slowly along the secret passage and soon came to the secret door. Sister Zua, it's time for you to change back. Lingtian let go of Qian Renxue's catkin, looked at Qian Renxue's charming face, and sighed with unfinished content. Why haven't you seen enough? Qian Renxue asked with a smile. Yeah. Lingtian nodded. Then I'll let you feel it for the last time. Qian Renxue spread her arms and gave Lingtian a warm hug. For a moment, the soft feeling in front of God squeezed Lingtian's body, making him unable to help but feel excited. But just when he was about to do something, the alluring Qian Renxue disappeared in a flash of golden light and turned into the gentle and elegant Zhu King again. Why? Xiaoshan is disappointed. Qian Renxue said teasingly. No, let's get out quickly, Lingtian said with a straight face and took the lead to leave this sad place. What a waste of feelings. After seeing Qian Renxue's true appearance, looking at the face of Zhu King always feels inexplicably inconsistent. Chapter 186. I'm now not the soul sect QIU. At the same time, a crisp laughter like silver bells came from behind him. Had her looking at Lingtian, who looked aggrieved. Qian Renxue raised a smile on her lips. She hadn't realized that since seeing Lingtian, she had smiled more inadvertently than she had in the past 3 months combined. After a while, the two returned to the study. Qian Renxue poured 2 cups of tea with her hands, pushed 1 cup in front of Lingtian, picked up the other cup, and took a sip. Xiaoshan, since you are still alive, you don't need that tomb, sister. Zua, the news that I'm still alive cannot be spread out yet, so the tomb that was erected still needs to be kept. Lingtian shook his head and said, why? Qian Renxue put down the teacup in her hand and looked at Lingtian with her purple eyes in confusion. I was tricked for no reason, so I naturally want to pay it back, Lingtian said slowly, and at the same time, a cold light flashed across his eyes. He was seriously injured, and Laogu disappeared. This debt must of course be placed on Zhu Zui's head. Ah, you seeking revenge from Lingxia Palace? That's right. What does that have to do with you still being alive? If the news that I'm still alive spreads, they will have 2 reactions. Either they will continue to send out title Douluo to assassinate them, or they will stay away from the edge and continue to wait. No matter what kind of reaction they make in the end, it is very important to me. Trouble, not the result I want to see. Because the former will attract countless assassins and will receive threats at all times, and the latter is restricted by the rules of the killing city. If they stay inside, there is nothing we can do, Lingtian said in a deep voice. So, you want to take advantage of this Soul Master competition to take action? Qian Renxue's eyes flashed, and she said slowly, well, as far as I know, Zhu will definitely attend the finals of this Soul Master competition. By then, I will take the initiative to expose my identity and lure the snake out of its hole. But are you sure you can deal with Zhu? Qian Renxue pondered for a moment and said, based on what I know about Lingxia Palace during this period, they have at least 5 titled Douluo, and the total number of titled Douluo here on our side is only 3. If he brings all the titled Douluo with him at that time, sister Zua, don't worry about this. I have more than 1 titled Douluo here. Lingtian smiled confidently and said slowly, I also hope that they will go out together to kill all the titled Douluo, so that they can be saved once and for all. I see. Qian Renxue was silent for a moment, holding Lingtian's palm, and said softly, I also have 2 titled Douluo here. If you need them, I can transfer them to you. Lingtian nodded and continued, but there is really one thing that needs your help, Sister Zua. What happened? I want to participate in this pan-continental elite Soul Master competition. Soul Master competition. Qian Renxue frowned, remained silent for a moment and shook his head. Xiaoshan, if it were the case, I would definitely not stop you from participating in this competition, but this time you have to hide your identity and not use your martial soul. Once you do this, you will not be able to use all your soul skills, and you will easily be in danger during the game. Wuhan represents soul skills. Using martial souls or not using martial souls has a serious impact on a soul master's strength. Without using his own martial soul and soul skills, even if Lingtian's soul power is 10 levels higher than Th's, he may not be their opponent. Therefore, she took part in the Soul Master competition without giving up her mind. Sister Zua, don't worry about this. I can still use my soul skills, even if I don't have a martial soul. As soon as he finished speaking, blue light surged in Lingtian's palm. The cage of ice. The next moment, the blue light was thrown towards Qian Renxue, instantly forming a series of icicles in front of him, trapping him in them. Create your own soul skills. Looking at the icicles in front of her, Qian Renxue was secretly surprised. Point click. Then she threw a tentative punch, and although there were layers of cracks on the icicle, it did not break. Not bad. Qian Renxue nodded slightly. Being able to block 30% of her soul power, the strength of this self-created soul skill is already very good. I have a lot of soul skills like this. Lingtian waved his hand to disperse the icicles in front of Qian Renxue, and said softly, I can release it even without using the martial spirit, so Sister Zua doesn't have to worry about my safety. Qian Renxue hesitated for a moment and said, but with your soul sect level soul power, you will still be a little reluctant when you cannot use your martial soul to deal with other teams. I am not a soul sect now. Lingtian smiled mysteriously, and then 5 ice blue soul rings surrounded him. 5 rings. Soul King, Xiaoshan, it's only been a year since you broke through the soul sect, right? After a moment of silence, Qian Renxue suddenly asked, to be precise, it should be 1 year and 3 months. Lingtian smiled slightly, and corrected him seriously, I just know pi. Qian Renxue raised her hand and hit Lingtian on the head, but there was still unconcealable shock in her eyes. Ouch. Lingtian rubbed his head, then chuckled and said, can I participate in the Soul Master competition now? That's it. Qian Renxue rolled her eyes at Lingtian, but she did not stop him from participating in the Soul Master competition. And if he participates in this Soul Master competition, then the matter of the Royal Dao team will be solved. In the past, Lingtian was not allowed to participate, mainly because he was worried that there would be danger if he did not use his martial soul. But now that the soul power of the Soul King level plus the self-created soul skills are not much different, even if he does not use the martial soul, there is no need to worry about his safety. Xiaoshan, you came back at the right time this time. Qian Renxue couldn't help but sigh as the matter with the Royal Dao team was finally resolved, and Qian Renxue's mood became lighter. What's on your mind, Sister Zua? Lingtian asked. It's not because of Snowstar. Qian Renxue pouted, and then briefly told Lingtian about Zhu crossing and the Royal Dao team. Snowstar is so annoying. If it weren't for Lingtian, he would definitely teach this guy a lesson. He originally wanted to tell him the truth a few days ago, but now it seems that it's better to tell him later, who makes him blind and offend himself over and over again. Asked for it. If you hadn't come back in time, I wouldn't have known how to arrange the participants. Qian Renxue said with emotion, I'm here. Lingtian took Qian Renxue's jade hand and said softly, Qian Renxue nodded slightly and leaned on Lingtian's shoulder, a sweet feeling echoing in her heart. She discovered for the first time, I don't know since when, as long as Xiaoshan is by my side, I always feel an inexplicable sense of peace of mind. There was also an inexplicable trust in what he said. Chapter 187 Elmhead. Right. Lingtian suddenly interrupted the silence and said, on my way to the Killing City for training, I encountered a village that was about to be attacked by an evil soul master. After I dealt with the evil soul master, I rescued a small child from it. The girl was sent to the Kibeo Glazed sect. I think that child has a good talent, so Sister Zua can pay attention to it. Good talent. Qian Renxue pondered for a moment, then suddenly thought of something. Her eyes gleamed, and she said, the child you are talking about is called Jiangshu. Sister Zua knows about that child? Lingtian asked in surprise. Sect Master Ning has mentioned to me several times before that the top-notch martial soul ice spirit magic bird is innately full of soul power, and was directly accepted as a disciple by Bone Douluo. It is currently the most popular genius in the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. Qian Renxue said slowly. Although Ningfengzi had invited Qian Renxue, she was not in the mood to go because of Lingtian. So she has never met Jiangshu until now, but she only knows that among the younger generation of Kibeo Glazed sect, there is a genius with innate soul power. You are born with full soul power. Lingtian nodded thoughtfully. After receiving the gift of the Ice God's divine power, Jiangshu's martial soul was definitely not ordinary, and it was not surprising that he could reach the full innate soul power. Sister Zua should try to get in touch with my relationship. She should be able to join the prince's mansion. Lingtian suggested. Qian Renxue nodded slightly and planned to go over there and take a look. If it is in line with her wishes, it can bring her closer to the palace. This incident with the royal fighter team made her realize the importance of genius. Being able to recruit a few more talents will undoubtedly be helpful in the future. The two of them just chatted with each other. The sky gradually became dark, and it was already evening. Before they knew it, the two of them had been in the study for almost 2 hours glancing at the sky outside the house. Lingtian suddenly stood up and said, "Sister Zua, I'm leaving first. Let's go." "Why are you going? Where are you going?" Qian Renxue grabbed Lingtian's arm. Her dark purple eyes filled with nervousness. He asked 3 questions in a row, all of which showed his nervousness towards Lingtian. "I'm not leaving you, Sister Zua. Don't be so nervous." Lingtian reached out and patted Qian Renxue's jade hand gently, soothing her uneasy mood. Then, "Where are you going?" Qian Renxue relaxed a little. "It's already so late. I have to find a place to rest. I'm just staying out for one night." Lingtian spread his hands and explained with a wry smile, "Isn't it okay to stay in the prince's mansion? Why do you have to go out?" Qian Renxue asked. "There are many people in the prince's mansion. It's easy to reveal one's identity if someone suddenly appears. Besides, I'm only going out for a while. When the Soul Master competition is over, I can return to the mansion openly." Lingtian held Qian Renxue's soft hand. He said softly and comfortingly. Qian Renxue finally felt relieved after hearing this, but there was still some hesitation, not wanting Lingtian to leave the prince's mansion. "Sister Zua, I'll leave first," Lingtian said and walked towards the study door, preparing to leave the prince's mansion now. "Wait a moment." But before he had even taken 2 steps, Qian Renxue reached out and grabbed him again. "Sister Zua, it's getting late now and there are a lot of tourists in the city. It's difficult to find a suitable hotel in a hurry. Xiaoshan might as well stay in the house all night," Qian Renxue said softly. "Is this so?" Lingtian asked in surprise. Qian Renxue nodded slightly, but a blush quietly flashed across her pretty face. Although Qian Dou City still has a lot of passenger traffic now, because ordinary people are not allowed to watch the promotion competition, most of the previous tourists have already left the city one after another in the past few days. Therefore, the number of hotel rooms now is far from as tight as Qian Renxue said. She only said this deliberately to keep Lingtian but ran. Lingtian smiled indifferently, waved his hand and said, "Sister Zua, don't worry, Chenzi and I have already booked a hotel." "Have you already made a reservation?" "When we were walking in the morning, we saw that there were many people in the city, so we booked 2 rooms in advance." "How about Sister Zua? Am I very clever?" Lingtian said with a smile. "Wits, really witty." Qian Renxue said through gritted teeth. "What a fool. We've all hinted at this, and you still haven't understood." However, Lingtian did not notice anything unusual about Qian Renxue, and still chuckled and said, "I will come to the prince's mansion to find you tomorrow morning. Let's go." "Let's go." Qian Renxue rolled her eyes at Lingtian and thought, "Humph. If you don't cherish the opportunity I gave you this time, if you want to be with me next time, I may not agree." Lingtian took out a bright white token from his arms, and the blue light on the token flashed as the soul power was input. "My lord." After a while, the morning light appeared outside the room. "Sister Zua, I'm leaving." Lingtian turned around and said, "Wait a moment." With or thought in her mind, Qian Renxue handed a token to Lingtian and said, "You must not expose your identity now. Use this token first when entering and exiting the prince's mansion during this period." Sister Zua is still thoughtful. Lingtian smiled slightly and took the token smoothly. "When I went back to the prince's mansion before, I always used my face to enter and never used an identity token, so I never thought of this before." If Qian Renxue hadn't given the token to him this time, he might not even be able to enter the gate of the prince's mansion tomorrow morning. "With your stupid head, what else can you remember?" Qian Renxue gave Lingtian a white look. She has not forgotten what happened just now. Hey Lingtian rubbed his nose with one hand and smiled awkwardly. Seeing Lingtian's appearance, Qian Renxue was a little amused and took 2 steps forward to help him adjust his collar. "Okay, let's go quickly, Sister Zua. Let's see you tomorrow." Lingtian rubbed Qian Renxue's jade hand, then kissed her gently on the forehead, then opened the door and left the study. You. Guy Qian Renxue touched the place where Lingtian had kissed her just now and thought to herself, she obviously has emotional intelligence most of the time. Why can't she understand what she means sometimes? Fool. Fool. Qian Renxue cursed Lingtian secretly, but the smile in her eyes could not be concealed. Your Majesty. Seeing Lingtian coming out, Chenzi said with cupped hands, Chenxi, let's go. After taking one last look at Qian Renxue, Lingtian turned around and said in a deep voice, yes. As soon as he finished speaking, the light blue light enveloped the two of them again. As the branches and leaves of the trees in the courtyard swayed, it seemed to be a silent announcement that Lingtian had left here. Thinking back to before, it was like a dream. Xiao, whom she misses so much, is really back. Chapter 188 Qian Renxue and -039, S gift asking the moon. Little guy, Qian Renxue stood there, her face full of joy. She clenched her fists, looked into the distance, and murmured in a low voice, I will never let you leave me this time. She has already experienced the feeling of losing Lingtian once, and she doesn't want to experience it a second time in her life. This time, she will protect Xiao. When the Pan-Continent Soul Master competition is over, she will not let Lingtian leave her again. Absolutely not. Xiao, I can't lose you again. After a long time, Qian Renxue withdrew her gaze and slowly closed the study door. Xianyu Hotel. This is one of the best hotels in Dou City. At this moment, Lingtian is lying comfortably on the big bed. My sister Zua. Recalling Qian Renxue's alluring face, a faint smile appeared on Lingtian's lips, because Sister Zua accepted his confession, and he is his own from today on. At this moment, a soft call came from outside the door. My lord, come in. How is the situation in the city? After saying that, Lingtian stood up and sat on a chair nearby. A total of 5 palace killers have been found in Dou City, and they are all located near the royal hunting ground. I speculate that they should be collecting information on the Dou Empire promotion competition. In order to prevent the enemy from being alerted, I did not take action against them. Chenzi handed over reporting. Royal hunting ground. After pondering for a moment, Lingtian murmured, it seems that Zhu Wei attaches great importance to this Soul Master competition. Lord, what should we do next? Chenzi asked. It's not the time to take action yet, but it's not that easy to obtain information. Let's follow the trend and help them. Ling Rao looked at Chenzi thoughtfully. I understand. Chenzi nodded slightly and understood what Lingtian meant. Then, I'll leave it to you, senior. Lingtian chuckled lightly and cupped his hands. Don't worry, Lord. As soon as he finished speaking, Chenzi's figure disappeared into the room. This time, it's just interest. A sneer flashed across Lingtian's lips, and he immediately stood up and sat on the bed to start practicing. Time flew by and the next day came in a blink of an eye. The sky gradually lights up, as if someone has put a layer of pink on the light blue sky, and there are countless golden lights hidden under the pink. The golden sunshine shines on Lingtian's body. Time flies so fast. Feeling that Lingtian also finished his training, he stretched out his waist comfortably and looked at the rising sun with his ice blue eyes, thinking that someone was waiting for him in the prince's mansion. Lingtian quickly got out of bed to wash up and tidy up. There's still something missing. After washing up, Lingtian looked at himself in the mirror with a thought in his mind. The power of frost continued to gather in his palms, condensing into an exquisite ice blue mask. Not bad. Putting on the mask, Lingtian nodded with satisfaction, then opened the door and left the hotel. You go deal with their matters first. Your safety, my lord. I have His Highness the Crown Prince here, so don't worry. My subordinate understands. Seeing that there was no problem with Lingtian's safety, Chenzi felt relieved. After responding, he disappeared in a flash and carried out the task assigned to him by Lingtian. Those soul masters who killed the palace should be killed. Tough luck. Lingtian, on the other hand, was walking towards the prince's mansion alone. A soul master at the Soul King level. Even when walking normally, Lingtian's speed is very fast. A normal person would need to walk half an hour from Xianyu Hotel to the prince's mansion. Although Lingtian did not deliberately increase the speed, it took less than a quarter of an hour to reach the valley in front of the prince's mansion. Point in front of the gate of the prince's mansion, 2 guards were guarding the gate. "I want to see His Highness the Crown Prince." Lingtian walked to the door and said. In order to avoid being heard by familiar people, Lingtian deliberately lowered his voice. As expected, the guard guarding the door didn't recognize him. Looking at Lingtian, who was wearing a mask and was moving around suspiciously, the 2 of them blocked Lingtian from the door with their weapons drawn horizontally. "The prince's residence. No one can come near, His Royal Highness. Not everyone can see you. Do you know this?" Lingtian took out the token and waved it in front of the 2 of them. His Royal Highness's token. The 2 guards looked at each other and recognized that this was the guest token of the prince's palace. Only those who were deeply trusted by the palace could handle this token. The 2 of them did not dare to neglect and respectfully moved out of the way. "Please, come with me." Lingtian nodded slightly, put away the token, and followed the guards into the prince's mansion. After a while, the inner hall of the prince's mansion. "My lord, please wait a moment. I will inform His Highness the Crown Prince first." After saying that, the guard hurried towards the backyard of the prince's mansion, preparing to report the matter to Qian Renxue. "You should also find a seat to sit," Lingtian said to Chen Zi, who was standing aside, just like returning to his own home. Soon, the sound of footsteps came. "I have seen it, His Highness the Crown Prince." After Lingtian bowed to Qian Renxue, he smiled and winked teasingly. "No gift." Qian Renxue glared at Lingtian angrily, coughed twice and said, "You came just in time. I went to the study with me to discuss something with you." "Yes." Lingtian chuckled and responded, then followed Qian Renxue. Crunch. The door slowly closed, and there were only 2 people in the room. "Xiaoshan, take off your mask," Qian Renxue suddenly said. Lingtian nodded. Although he didn't understand what Qian Renxue meant, he still took off the frost mask on his face. "This is for you," Qian Renxue thought, and a blue gold mask appeared in her palm. "This is a mask made of ice and fire silk. Covering it with soul power can resist attacks, and it can also isolate the breath. The effect should be better than the mask you condensed with soul power. Put it on and try it." With that said, Qian Renxue handed the mask to Lingtian, but Lingtian smiled brightly and took the mask and placed it on his face. The overall ice blue color matches Lingtian's hair color, and the golden lace around the mask adds a sense of mystery to him. "What do you think, Sister Zua?" "It's very beautiful, as if it was prepared for you." Looking at the mask with ice blue and gold rims, Qian Renxue nodded with satisfaction. Sure enough, this mask suited Xiaoshan very well. Although it obscured his face, the pair of sword eyebrows and starry eyes made the overall temperament even better. "Once upon a time." "Hey, Xiaoshan, you seem to have grown taller again." Qian Renxue stepped forward and rubbed Lingtian's head. A bit of melancholy suddenly arose in my heart. With the speed at which Xiaoshan's height was increasing, it might not be long before I could no longer rub his head like this. Thinking of this, Qian Renxue couldn't help but rub it a few more times, because I can still rub it now, so of course I should take the opportunity to rub it for a while. Chapter 189. Family Status. Asking the Moon. "Sister Zhu here, this is your hand first." Lingtian narrowed her eyes slightly, clasped her jade hand, and then her face slowly approached Qian Renxue. In the end, a gently kiss at the corner of the lip. Sweet. Although it has been tasted once yesterday, it is still full of freshness. Zhao Shan, he even secretly himself, the courage of the little guy's getting bigger and bigger. If it goes in the past, it won't be long after you go, wouldn't it be, to be caught? No, you must give a lesson. Let him know what is a family status. Thinking of this, Qian Renxue's face was reddish, and he raised his fist and hit Lingtian. Ashamed. "Sister Zhu here, don't be impulsive. It's your hand that moves first." Lingtian naturally would not stand in the same place and spin around the table. And Qian Renxue, "You stand for me. You do it first." "Shut up, Sister Zhu here. Listen to me." Explanation. "Stand me, Sister Zhu here. Don't chase first." Lingtian has always tried to talk to Qian Renxue, but unfortunately Qian Renxue prefers to talk to Lingtian. In The end. Lingtian was caught by Qian Renxue. The whole person was pressed by Qian Renxue, and his hands were unable to move with his knees. In this way, Qian Renxue was stunned for almost a minute. Qian Renxue let Lingtian let go, and Lingtian was lying on the ground, panting weakly. This incident fully realized that the gap between the Soul King and Soul Saint. Wait, when his soul power exceeds Qian Renxue, he must let Qian Renxue experience the feeling of being pressed. This time I know my sister's greatness. Knew then. Do you dare to dare next time? Don't dare. But Lingtian silently added 2 words in the bottom of his heart. Strange. Give him another chance to come back 100 times. He will still go up in one bite, and there will be no hesitation. At the same time, Qian Renxue nodded with satisfaction, said, okay, hurry up. Can't get up. Lingtian's eyes turned and continued to lie on the ground again. Let's talk about it first. After seeing this scene, Qian Renxue glanced white. Immediately. No matter Lingtian, it is right. Qian Dou Royal College and Royal Hunting Ground. Where are you going to go first today? When it comes to the business, Lingtian also sat up from the ground. Royal Hunting Ground. After groaning for a moment, Lingtian said slowly, the matter of the Royal College of Qian Dou is not in a hurry. Let's take a look at the strength of the team's team. Then let's go to the promotion match first, and then go to the Emperor fighting team. Qian Renxue asked. Anyway, the Emperor Dou team just passed the field. They and my strength only saw too much. I couldn't train with them. The game is about to start now, and we have just happened now. Looking at Lingtian, who was still sitting on the ground, Qian Renxue said with a smile, why, I still need to hug you in person. Need not. Lingtian patted the dust on the clothes and quickly stood up from the ground to see Sister Zui's current posture. I was afraid that it would be difficult to take advantage of it today. We are still very satisfied. It is good to be able to kiss it. Go. Lingtian took the lead, and Qian Renxue followed him and stepped out of the door. After a minute, in front of the Royal Hunting Ground door, I have seen His Royal Highness Roxanne paid a gift. Gift? Free. Qian Renxue waved his hand and then asked casually, Captain Luo, what happened today? How can I see so many soldiers patrol this way? Back to His Royal Highness, we found the traces of someone sneaked into the hunting ground half an hour ago. In order to prevent emergencies, we increased the patrol from the original 3 to 10. Roxanne arched. You do it well. Keep here. Yes. Qian Renxue praised Roxanne's 2 sentences and then entered the hunting ground with Lingtian. Of course, the Prince of the Heavenly Empire was qualified to bring people. Soon, the 2 came to the auditorium. I have seen His Royal Highness. Several Wenchen generals sitting in the back row got up and saluted, and they showed enough respect for the future emperors of the Heavenly Fighting Empire. Don't have to be more polite. Qian Renxue smiled gently and looked back at Lingtian Road. You can watch it for a while. Wait for me to say hello to the father and emperor. Well, His Royal Highness is assured. Lingtian said as the Prince of the Empire of the Heavenly Dou. Of course, Qian Renxue cannot be as casual as at home. After explaining to Lingtian, Qian Renxue returned to the front row. Children have seen Father Emperor. Zui squinted his eyes slightly and said slowly, what is the name of the child wearing a mask? As soon as Qian Renxue came to the auditorium, Zui's eyes had been on her, and naturally, she also saw the mysterious teenager with a mask beside her. Back to Father Emperor. This is a genius. That children have recently arrived. Qian Renxue respectfully said, genius, how many days? Zui said interested. He is only 14 years old this year, and he is already a Soul King. Qian Renxue whispered, 14 years old, King of Soul. Although Qian Renxue has already said that Lingtian's age is 2 years old, even the 14-year-old Soul King is enough to shock Zui. You should know that in the current game, although the age of these young soul divisions is similar to Lingtian, there is no one to reach the realm of the Soul King. But now, it appears in front of yourself. You must know that in the 3 soul division competitions that have been held, whether they are the Heavenly Fighting Empire or the Martial Arts Temple and the Star Luo Empire, they have never appeared in the Soul King. If he can play on behalf of the Qian Dou Empire, There is an extra sulking in the team. Wouldn't they be very hopeful to defeat the martial arts palace and the Star Luo Empire this time, and became the champion of the Soul Master contest? Thinking of this, Zuai's thoughts became hot instantly. He seemed to see Lingtian leading them to the Emperor team, sweeping the martial arts hall and the Star Luo Empire in one fell swoop. And the first time the Soul Master contest won the trophy belonging to their heavenly empire. Can he have the Soul Division team? Zuyi asked suddenly. Children are planning to let him join the Emperor's team to participate in the finals. Because he has never participated in the Soul Master competition before, he will take him in to observe the competition today. Qian Renxue added. Isn't it to observe? Zuai groaned for a moment and said slowly, the child came here on the first day, and the rules in the field are not familiar, so let you take him here to turn around. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190 His Royal Highness, Don 039, T. Make a judgment too early. My son, take your orders. Qian Renxue cupped her hands and said after bowing. He exited from the front of the auditorium and walked towards Lingtian's seat in the back. Watching Qian Renxue's leaving figure, a trace of relief flashed in Zuyi's old eyes, and then she waved to Qian beside her. His Majesty, prepare a handbook for the Child King brought. As a member of the Imperial fighting team, he is also qualified to enter here. Promise. Qian nodded, then turned and left the auditorium. Qian Renxue walked up to Lingtian, smiled gently and said, Brother Guling, come with me. With father's approval, I will take you here to watch the game. I obey. Lingtian was stunned for a moment, then he responded with his hands raised. Guling is Lingtian's current pseudonym. During the Soul Master competition, he had been staying with Qian Renxue in this capacity, and Qian Lingting screamed just now, and he was not used to it. Get used to it early, don't let it slip by then. Qian Renxue walked to Lingtian's side, patting her shoulders, and reminding her in a low voice, yes, I understand. Lingtian and Qian Renxue looked at each other, indicating that they would pay attention to their identities. Qian Renxue nodded slightly, with a gentle smile on her face. Brother Gu, let's go to the competition stage and have a look. Listen to His Highness the Crown Prince. Brother Gu, go this way. Then the two of them walked one behind the other towards the right side of the competition stage. Although there were no spectator seats there was an open space designated for watching the competition. At the same time, the competition on the competition stage has already started. The two teams fighting were Botany College and Shrek College. Because Botany College had defeated Shrek 1 by 3 just now, the pressure has now come to Shrek College's side. What is Shrek Academy doing? It has already lost 3 games in a row. Isn't the blue silver grass spirit master who played a few days ago very strong? Why not arrange for him to play? I really don't know what the academy is thinking about this. After these days, Shrek Academy's continuous winning streak has completely changed the first impression it had in the eyes of the public. Many nobles in the audience also noticed this academy. After seeing their sudden 3-game losing streak, everyone thought this was incredible. After listening to the discussion around her, Qian Renxue suddenly smiled and asked Lingtian beside her, Brother Gu, why do you think Shrek Academy suddenly lost 3 games in a row? It should be the tactic they arranged. Lingtian responded casually, how can you see it? Qian Renxue raised the corners of her lips slightly and said with a smile, I have seen the main force of Shrek Academy, and they are not the 3 soul masters who appeared just now, so the 3 people should be the bait they threw out, and the purpose should be to collect information for the main members who will appear later. Lingtian calmly said, so Brother Gu thinks Shrek Academy will win the next game? Qian Renxue asked with a smile. Not only in the next game Shrek Academy will probably wear 7. 1. Where 7. One person has brought down the entire Soul Master Academy, which has never happened before in previous Soul Master competitions. Different from the previous selection rules, the 2 colleges and the preliminaries sent 7 Soul Masters to participate in the battle. The first college to defeat all 7 soul masters from the opposite side won the game. The game only uses wheel battle mode. The winning soul master in each round has 2 choices: either continue to challenge or give up and step down. As soon as you wear 7, you have to fight one person to accept the challenges of the 7 people of the opponent's college and defeat them all, and these colleges that can pass the qualifiers, even if the strength is weaker, will not go there. If you want one person to challenge the entire college, the difficulty in it is self-evident. Qian Renxue groaned for a moment and shook his head. I believe that with the strength of Strek College, I can definitely win the Academy of Botanicals, but as one of the 4 element colleges, even if it is not as good as Slack College, it will not be weak. Too much, so I don't think they can defeat the entire Botanical College by sending a person. Lingtian said with a smile. His Royal Highness does not believe it. Qian Renxue hesitated, shook his head. 1 where 7. It makes it difficult for the palace to believe. Then, don't we just bet on? Lingtian proposed. What? Do you want to bet? Qian Renxue turned his head interested. Lingtian thought for a moment and said, if His Royal Highness lost it, he promised me a condition. On the contrary, if I lost, I promised His Royal Highness a condition. How about, yes? Qian Renxue agreed and said with a smile, if you don't wear 7 at that time, the ancient brother should not forget what you promised to this palace. That's natural. I hope His Royal Highness should not forget. Lingtian lowered his voice. At the same time, just when the 2 bet. Mahanjan, the 4th player of Strek College, a chubby peer, finally stood on the ring in the high attention. This is the 4th player of Shrek College. Why? Never seen it. Will it be the same as the previous 3, all come together? What is Slack College doing? This is promotion. The guests under the court frowned and couldn't understand what the idea of Shrek College took. And 3 games in a row on the field. Although the soul power of the player of the Botanical Academy consumed a lot, the confidence has improved to the peak, and Mahanjan has not put Mahanjan in his eyes. Ancient brothers, I'm afraid you are going to be disappointed. When you saw the appearance of this representative Slack College, it was another strange face, and the corner of Qian Renxue's mouth evoked a smile. The game hasn't started yet. Don't make a conclusion too early. Lingtian smiled indifferently. When he saw Mahanjan, he already knew that there was no suspense in this gambling game. Although he had his intervention, Tang Sanai did not get the opportunity to get the eyes of Bing Huo. However, as the son of Douluo mainland, Tang San still has other opportunities at the Sunset Forest. Although the effect is not as good as the fairy grass with the eyes of Bing Huo, it also makes the soul of the Shrek College's soul greatly get a huge great power. Promote. We wait and see. As soon as the words fell, Mahanjan on the ring broke out in an instant. The 4 soul rings rose from Mahanjan's feet. 2 yellows and purple. The best match. Let everyone in the field wide stare at their eyes for a while. Such a team member the strength of level 40 or above, the air that becomes distorted in an instant, and the changes in hair and body, undoubtedly showing the powerfulness of Mahanjan's martial arts. Strak actually hidden a hand. Qian Renxue felt a little shocked. She had never thought that the little fat man in front of her was a soul sect, and his soul power was actually a fire attribute that was incompatible with the Botanical Academy. But despite this, she still doesn't think Mahanjan can wear 7. As purple flames spurted out from the arena, the fate of the soul sect from the Botanical College was already doomed. If this plant type soul master above level 40 maintains his soul power in a state of complete victory, he might still be able to pose some threat to Mahanjan. It is a pity that his soul power has been consumed too much in the first 3 battles. How can he compete against Mahanjan, who is not inferior to him in level, has full soul power, and has comprehensive attributes that are incompatible with each other? We admit defeat. The teachers watching the game from the College of Botany shouted to the referee without hesitation. Seeing this scene, Lingtian turned his head and said, His Royal Highness, why are you so proud? This is the first one. Qian Renxue glanced at Lingtian and curled her lips in dissatisfaction. A smile appeared on Lingtian's lips and he did not argue with Qian Renxue. At the same time, the competition in the arena continued. There are 3 soul masters above level 40 in the Academy of Physics. except for the first player. The remaining 2 are ranked at the back. Therefore, the next 4 opponents Mahanjan will face are all only 30 point, just a multi-level plant type soul master. Although these soul masters with plant martial souls are all from the control system, Mahanjan's fire phoenix perfectly restrained the martial souls of everyone in the plant academy. In addition, there is still a 10 level difference in soul power. Facing their attackers, Mahanjan don't even need to move. While standing on the field, the flames around him can make all their soul skills ineffective. No matter how powerful your soul skill is, it will be meaningless when your martial soul is completely ineffective against your opponent. After Mahanjan came on the scene, victory became extremely easy. From the first to the 5th game, he even stood there motionless, bathing in flames to protect his body. At the same time, he amplified the phoenix line of fire, breathed flames, and swept across. Once he hit the opponent, the game would end immediately. Absolutely nothing. Any fancy operation is simply the suppression of martial soul attributes and soul power with 1 through 3. The Botanical College already had a huge advantage, but in an instant, the Botanical College was reversed by Shrek Academy by 5, and it was reversed without any suspense. Your Highness, is it time for the 6th one? Lingtian smiled and turned his head. Why are you so anxious? There are 2 more behind you. Qian Renxue glanced at Qian Bei and said, his soul power must have been consumed a lot after fighting for so long. I don't believe in the 2 remaining soul sects. Let him continue. Let's wait and see. At the same time, the 2nd soul sect from the Botanical College finally came on stage, and this soul master also carries the last hope of everyone in the Botanical Academy, because his martial soul is the red flame thorn, and he is the only soul master with fire resistance among the 7 participating team members in the entire Botanical Academy. When the teachers at the Botanical College saw how powerful Mahanjan's flames were, the purpose of the 5 people who came before became to consume Mahanjan's soul power as much as possible and create conditions for the 6th soul master to appear. If he also loses to Mahanjan, there is no need to play the last game. On the contrary, if the plan succeeds, then the Botanical College still has hope of winning. Chapter 191. This palace has been solved. As soon as the game started, the battle was extremely fierce. The soul skills of the 2 people kept colliding in panic. Although the red flame thorn had fire resistance, it was still suppressed by the martial spirit phoenix 4-4 bang. Finally, with a roundhouse kick from Mahanjan, the soul sect of the Botany College was kicked out of the ring. The soul sect's body drew a beautiful parabola in the air and fell directly to the outside. Fortunately, he was caught by a teacher from the Botanical College who had been paying attention. Although he was still in a dazed state at this time, he did not suffer any real trauma. In the 6th game, Mahanjan won again. We admit defeat in the next game. Before Qian Renxue could speak, the representative teacher from the Botanical College signaled to the referee to admit defeat. With this fire soul sect, they would not be able to compete, even if they had 7 more games. In order to prevent unnecessary losses to the players on the field, the teacher decisively gave up the last game. Your Highness, I win. Lingtian lay on the fence and looked back at Qian Renxue with a smile in his eyes. Snort. Qian Renxue snorted, curled her lips and turned away. Although she couldn't see Lingtian's face due to the mask, she always felt that this guy must be laughing at her now. Also, those soul masters from the Botanical College are really useless, and they were actually penetrated by a person from Shrek College. Tell me, what are your conditions? Qian Renxue rolled her eyes and said angrily, I haven't thought about it yet. We'll talk about it when we get back in the evening. Your Highness, let's go over there and have a look. Lingtian said with a chuckle, then turned around and walked to the other side to watch the competition between other teams. Qian Renxue nodded and led Lingtian to the side. At the same time, just as the 2 were chatting and laughing, in the Shrek Academy team, one person's eyes were locked on the 2 of them, or to be more precise, he was staring at Lingtian, who was wearing an ice silk mask. That figure looks so familiar. A flash of thought flashed. NZHU Zuking's dark eyes at the end of Mahanjan's game. She happened to look in the direction of Lingtian, and she always felt that the figure looked familiar, giving her a feeling of deja vu. Zuking? Before she could think about it, a crisp voice came from beside her. Zhao. Wu. Zhu Zuking responded and turned around, just in time to see Xiao Wu walking towards him. It's time for everyone to go. What are you looking at, so absorbed? Xiao Wu jumped up to Zhu Zuking, hugged her slender arm, and looked at her curiously, but now the place was empty, and she saw nothing. No, it's nothing. Let's go. Zhu Zuking shook his head, took one last deep look, turned around and left the stands with Xiao Wu. By the way, Zuking, you and Xiao Wu tentatively said, don't mention him, before Xiao Wu could finish speaking. Zhu Zuking interrupted point at this moment. Her face was as cold as ice, and her eyes no longer had the softness and smile they had before, leaving only a look of deep disgust. Point, that's right. Full of disgust for Damu Bei. After she arrived at Shrek Academy, she originally wanted to accept Damu Bei. After all, they were still engaged, and she still had some weak feelings for him in her heart. Point, but after this period of time together, she became even more disgusted with him. If I don't mention it, I don't want to mention that guy. After saying that, Xiao Wu turned the topic to the competition, and Zhu Zuking's expression gradually softened. Why do you think the competition is boring? Qian Renxue suddenly asked. Well, except for the fact that Shrek Academy was a bit interesting just now, the teams and other competitions are too weak and seem boring. Lingtian spread his hands, feeling a little uninterested. Point, he thought the Soul Master competition would be exciting, but in the end he felt nothing but boredom. Point, Qian Renxue pondered for a moment and suggested, how about going to Qian Dou Royal Academy now? Lingtian agreed without hesitation. Point, he can go anywhere. Anyway, he doesn't want to watch boring games anymore. Point, from the perspective of Lingtian, who had experienced brutal battles in the Killing City, the battles of these genius soul masters were just like playing house, so boring that he couldn't get interested at all. Point, Qian Renxue did not waste any time, and left with Lingtian, after saying something to Zuyi. Point, moreover, when he came back, he also took a note that Zuyi asked him to give to Lingtian, so that he could enter the hunting ground, to visit the competition in the future. Point, however, Qian Renxue felt that with Lingtian's character, he might not come back again. Point, half an hour later, Qian Dou Royal Academy. Point, as soon as he saw the figures of Qian Renxue and Lingtian, Meng Shenji hurriedly came up to greet him, raised his hands, and said with a smile, His Royal Highness is here. Please don't be surprised if I feel far away to welcome you. Goo. No need to be polite. Meng Lao, Zhr Lao and Bei Lao are also in the academy, right? Qian Renxue asked with a gentle smile. After receiving your message from your highness, Lao Zhi and Lao Bei also rushed back to the college, and are now waiting for you in the dean's office. Meng Shenji responded with cupped hands. That's just right. I'm tired of worrying about Meng Lao. These are what I should do. Isn't this the young man behind you, your highness? Meng Shenji looked at Lingtian and asked tentatively. Qian Renxue smiled mysteriously and said, Meng Lao will know when the time comes. Then, please come with me, your highness. Meng Shenji took a deep look at Ling, and then walked ahead with Qian Renxue and Lingtian towards the office of the Dean of Qian Dou Royal Academy. Qian Dou Royal Academy, Dean's office. Because the position of Dean of Qian Dou Royal Academy belongs to Emperor Zuai, he and his version would not come to Qian Dou Academy on weekdays, so Qian Renxue divided the Free Dean's office into 3 persons. On weekdays, all 3 of them are. This is where school affairs are handled. Your Majesty, why did you ask me to come here today? Zilin knocked on the table with one hand and asked Bei Ocean, who was resting with his eyes closed. What else can we do at this stall besides the Royal Dou clan? Bei Ocean straightened up, looked at Zilin, and said with squinted eyes, yeah, now if Oslo really doesn't participate, who should we ask to take the starting position? Zilin sighed helplessly. If it doesn't work, let the second team take over. After Bei Ocean pondered for a moment, he slowly said, His Royal Highness finally managed to stand firm in the court. There must be no objection at this time. Well, Zilin sighed and said, this is the only way we can do it. They had already made arrangements for the team, but Lingtian's sudden death caught them off guard. causing the chips to return to Zuxing's hands in the final analysis. Zuxing is still to blame for this matter. If he hadn't made some small moves later, the list would have been reported to Wuhan Palace long ago. And how could there be so many bad things happening now? Point at this moment, there was a sound of footsteps outside the door. What are you two talking about, Mr. Bay and Mr. ZHI? So seriously? I heard their voices in the corridor. Soon a gentle voice came from the door, and then Qian Renxue and the others walked into the room. I have met His Highness the Crown Prince, Zilin. And Baocean looked at each other, and Baocean continued, reporting to your highness. What we were talking about just now was about the Imperial battle team. Qian Renxue asked with a smile. What ideas can the two education committee members come up with? The advice I brought here is nothing more than the plans I told His Highness a few days ago. Baocean shook his head, and a wry smile appeared on Baocean's round face. He was also helpless about the current situation. But I feel that no matter what, His Highness cannot agree to Zuxing's conditions. Baocean suddenly said seriously. I understand this, Qian Renxue smiled knowingly, looked around at everyone, and then said loudly, as for the matter of the Imperial fighter team, the education committee members don't have to worry. I called the three of them here today, just to resolve the matter of the Imperial fighter team. This is Guling, a 14-year-old sulking with a soul power level 14 years old, sulking. Baocean, Zilin, and Meng Shenji looked at Lingtian almost at the same time, and without exception, their eyes were full of disbelief. Among them, although Meng Shenji just saw Lingtian arriving, he guessed that Qian Renxue might ask him to join the Imperial fighting team, but he just thought that Lingtian's strongest strength was that of the Soul Sect, and he never thought that this young man wearing a mask would be the Soul King. Baocean suppressed the shock in his heart and said, Your Highness, is what you said true, brother? Gu, show education committee Bay your strength. Qian Renxue smiled calmly and threw a blue test crystal to Lingtian. In advance. The test crystals have different colors depending on the level. This blue crystal is used to test the soul power below level 50. If the soul power exceeds level 50, the crystal will explode directly. Lingtian stretched his arm forward to grab the test crystal and then released his soul power to cover it with his right hand. In an instant, the blue light in Lingtian's hand was seen. The blue crystal became as dazzling as crystal. The strong light filled every corner of the crystal. This was clearly a symbol of reaching level 50. Boom. At the same time, a pressure of soul power at the level of a Soul King continued to spread in all directions with Lingtian as the center. The three people from Baocean were the first to feel this pure, cold soul power. Click. Before the three of them could recover, Lingtian suddenly stopped inputting soul power. Feel sorry. When everyone cast doubtful glances, Lingtian slowly opened his palms and said with some embarrassment, I didn't expect that the soul power has increased by another level in the past few days, and I accidentally burst the test crystal. With that said, Lingtian handed the broken crystal to the dream machine nearest to him with a smile. Soul King, the real Soul King. If the test crystal is broken, it only means that the tester's soul power exceeds a level limit. The maximum soul power limit of blue crystal is level 50, and the reason why Lingtian proves his soul power is that he has already reached the Soul King. Chapter 192, introducing a new member to everyone. Thinking of this, Meng Shenji turned around and nodded slightly to the two old guys behind him, indicating that there was nothing wrong with the soul power crystal. This child's soul power had indeed reached level 50 or above. 14 years old, Soul King, Baocean, Meng Shenji, and Zilin looked at Lingtian and instantly became eager now. Even if Oslo doesn't quit, they will kick him out of the team. The Soul King is much stronger than the Soul Lord. The addition of a Soul King to their Imperial fighter team can not only offset the impact of Oslo's withdrawal from the team on the strength of the Imperial fighter team, but also improve the overall strength of the team a lot. It turns out that strictly speaking, their Linoop competition makes it very difficult to compete for the championship. But now that a Soul King has joined to strengthen and compensate for the weak, their Imperial fighting team is very likely to win this championship. The two people from Baocean looked at each other and said in unison, Congratulations, Your Highness. You are so happy to have such a talented person. At this moment, a suspicious voice suddenly sounded, Classmate. Guling, why are you wearing a mask? It turned out that Meng Shenji saw that Lingtian had been wearing a mask from the time he entered the door until now, so he felt a little doubtful in his heart. Before Lingtian could respond, Qian Renxue asked directly, Brother Gu needs to wear a mask due to personal issues. Doesn't the Soul Master competition not allow Soul Master Keisei to wear a mask? Of course it's allowed. I'm just a little curious, so please don't blame me. Meng Shenji smiled and stopped mentioning Lingtian's mask, as long as Mr. Meng understands. Qian Renxue smiled gently, glanced at Meng Shenji and continued, with the arrival of Brother Gu, the 3 education committee members no longer have to worry about the problems of the Royal Dao team. Thank you so much, His Highness the Crown Prince. Ocean said with a ashamed look on his face. As the top person in charge of the Imperial fighting team, he did not help His Highness the Crown Prince solve the team's problems. Instead, he ended up asking His Highness the Crown Prince to help find personnel. He really failed to live up to His Highness's expectations this time. If there are no questions, Your Highness, we will add Guling's name to the roster of our Imperial fighting team. Zilen said with a cupped hand. Well, this is what I came here for today. Qian Renxue nodded slightly, then looked at Meng Shenji beside him, and said with a smile, Mr. Meng, please take us to the training ground to have a look, just in time for the members of the Royal Dao team to get to know their new teammates. Your Highness also wants to go together? Meng Shenji asked casually. Qian Renxue smiled gently and said, well, I don't have anything to do here. I just want to accompany Brother Gu to see the Imperial fighting team of our Qian Dao Empire. I see. Then Your Highness and classmate Guling, please come with me. Meng Shenji didn't ask any more questions, turned around and took Qian Renxue and Lingtian towards the direction of the Royal Fighter Team's training ground. Ocean and Zilen are responsible for finalizing the list and reporting the Huang Dao Team's contestants to Wuhan Palace. This entry list is very important. Once the members of the participating team are confirmed, personnel changes cannot be made. Qian Dao Royal Academy. The training ground of the Imperial Battle Team, Oslo, hasn't come for 3 days. When I passed by the Dean's office a few days ago, I seemed to hear them mentioning Oslo and other things like withdrawing from the competition. What? He's not really going to retire, is he? No way. After training together for so long, he is willing to retire at this time. Yes, this is a time to win glory for the Empire. He shouldn't do such stupid things, right? During the pause in training to recover physical strength, Xiemo, and Yu Feng gathered together and discussed things about Oslo. At this moment, Yu Xianheng gave a soft drink. Keep training, Captain. What do you think about Oslo? The Education Committee will handle Oslo's matter. We just need to maintain our condition and improve our strength and understanding. Yu Xianheng crossed his arms and said calmly, Captain is wise. Yu Feng said with a playful smile. Okay, continue training. Yu Xianheng turned his attention to Yu Feng and said in a deep voice, there is still some time before the finals start. Yu Feng, you are only one level of soul power away from the soul sect. You have time to catch the adulterer and try to break through before the start of the finals. This way, with 5 soul sects, the strength of our team will be greatly improved. Captain, don't worry, I've already felt like a breakthrough in the past 2 days. Yu Feng said seriously. That's good. Keep training. Yu Xianheng nodded slightly and patted Yu Feng's hand to show encouragement. Yes, the members of the Imperial fighting team immediately went into training, and everyone's eyes were full of fighting spirit. It seemed that Oslo's sudden departure from the team did not have any impact on them. At this moment, Du Guyan walked up to Yu Xianheng and said with a sad face, Xianheng, I heard from Grandpa that, because of the intervention of some figures in the royal family, Oslo may really leave the team this time. I know about this. Yu Xianheng nodded. You know? Then why do you still say that? Du Guyan said in surprise. The Meng Education Committee told me about this matter a few days ago and asked me not to tell other members of the team for the time being, so as not to affect their mood in preparing for the battle. Yu Xianheng explained softly. Then, let's Du Guyan asked. Yu Xianheng patted her little hand and said slowly, train well, these matters will be handled by the education committee. Besides, even if Oslo really quits the team, I will still have the confidence to lead the team with my current strength. After the disastrous defeat in the battle with Lingtian, he has been working hard this year to improve his strength. Her talent is not weak, and her martial spirit is a top-notch beast martial spirit. With such a big family supporting her, the spirit beast, money, elixirs and other cultivation resources are all available. It can be said that everything is available. In the end, the hard work paid off, and he was promoted from the 39th level Soul Master to the 43rd level Soul Master in 1 year. Level 43, 2 parts of Dragon Transformation. Valley. Now Yu Xianheng is full of confidence in himself and feels that if he fights again, Lingtian will be defeated this time. But unfortunately, that guy died. Otherwise, I really want to fight Lingtian again and let him experience the feeling of failure, never catch up. Now I have surpassed you. Thinking of this, Yu Xianheng silently clenched his fists, walked aside and started his training task. At the same time, the Meng Shenji trio also entered the training ground. Bang bang bang. Before they even reached the Royal Fighter Team's training venue, several people in the corridor heard the sound of training coming from inside. Xianheng and the others happened to be training at this time. Yes, it seems that Mr. Meng usually teaches well. The students are all working hard on their own. I just help them make plans. Meng Shenji stroked his beard and smiled broadly. His students trained so hard, and he, as the educational committee of the college, was proud of himself. Your Highness, please, Meng. Leo is so polite. Meng Shenji took the lead and pushed open the door of the training ground. Qian Renxue and Lingtian behind him looked at each other and followed. Bang bang bang. Everyone, please stop for a moment. Meng Shenji clapped his hands, attracting everyone's attention. Meng Education Committee, what's the matter? Yu Xianheng temporarily stopped the training at hand and looked at Qian Renxue next to Meng Shenji with a flash of doubt in his eyes. His Royal Highness, you must know that Qian Renxue rarely comes to Qian Dou Royal Academy. The last time she saw him was during the challenge in the academy. Why did he come suddenly at this moment? Could it be, for that matter, Xianheng, call all the members of the Imperial Fighting Team over? Meng Shenji glanced at Yu Xianheng and said with a serious face, I will spare you some training time. I have something to announce to you, students. Understand? Yu Xianheng nodded and ran to the rear. After a while, he gathered the team members together and everyone stood in a row in front of Meng Shenji, except for Oslo. All members of the Imperial Fighting Team have expired. Yu Xianheng said solemnly. Meng Shenji nodded, then looked at Qian Renxue standing aside. Your Highness, are you responsible for this matter? It would be more appropriate for Meng Leo to announce the matter regarding the Imperial Battle Team. Qian Renxue said with a gentle smile. Then, I'd rather be respectful than obey your orders. Meng Shenji no longer refused, cleared his throat and said directly, I believe that you have all heard more or less about Oslo. Regarding his withdrawal from the Imperial Fighting Team and not participating in this Soul Master competition. I'm here to tell you clearly that this is not a rumor. Oslo Sanded launch our Imperial Fighting Team for some reasons. What? Oslo really quit? Then the team is missing one person. What should we do? Meng Shenji's words stirred up 1,000 waves. All the members of the Royal Dou team exploded instantly, and they started discussing immediately without caring about the presence of outsiders. Even Yi Lingling has a big mouth at this moment. No one thought that Oslo would quit the team at this time. Among the Imperial fighters, the calmest one was Yu Xianheng, who had received the news early in the morning. He felt that since the Meng Education Committee dared to let everyone know about this matter, it meant that he must have a solution to deal with Oslo leaving the team. Otherwise, he should announce it at this time. As time passed by, everyone in the Imperial Fighting Team recovered from the shock, and everyone turned their attention to the calm-looking Meng Shenji. Now, because of Oslo's withdrawal, our Imperial Fighting Team is missing one person. Therefore, in order to make up for the shortcomings in the team's personnel, His Royal Highness has specially introduced a strong player to the team. As Soon as he finished speaking, Meng Shenji waved his hand and pointed at Lingtian, who was standing aside. New team members. All the members of the Royal Dao team cast their doubtful gazes at Lingtian, secretly thinking in their hearts, is this masked person their new teammate? PS. The blocked chapter 184 has been unblocked. You can go and take a look. Chapter 193 Fight again. Yu Qianheng is defeated. Wearing a mask, it doesn't look or feel very strong. Just when everyone in the Imperial fighting team was doubting Lingtian's strength, Meng Shenji's next words made them all tremble. Classmate. Guling is 14 years old this year and is a 50 level. Sulking, 14 years old. 51, level 29, reaching 51st level soul power at the age of 14. Is this a level that can be achieved by human power? Their boss, Yu Qianheng, is a genius, right? He is now 16 years old and is only a level 43 soul sect. The most shocking among them is Yu Qianheng. The 12-year-old soul sect from Lingtian had already shocked him enough, and now a 14-year-old Huan Guling appeared. When did all the geniuses appear together? For the first time, Yu Qianheng had doubts about his talent. Are you really a genius? Okay, everyone, please be quiet for a moment. A smile appeared on Meng Shenji's face. He stroked his beard and said, you will be teammates from now on. Let's get to know each other first. Go. Lingtian changed his tone and said calmly, 50 level attack type battle soul master, Wu Hanbing, I'm very happy to be teammates with you. How are you? Qianheng took a deep breath and then said in a deep voice, Yu Qianheng, captain of the Imperial fighting team, martial soul, blue electric tyrannosaurus, a level 43 attack type battle soul master, Douluo. Yan also took a step forward and continued, Douluo Yan, deputy captain of the Imperial fighting team, martial soul, jade phosphorus snake, 40 level control type battle soul master, member of the Imperial fighting team Xiemo, Wuhan, Zuan Wu turtle, 40 level defensive battle soul master, Aishi, Mo, a member of the Imperial fighting team, Wuhan, Zuan Wu turtle, a level 40 defensive battle soul master, Yu Feng, a member of the Imperial fighting team, has martial soul, wind chime bird, a level 39 agility attack type battle soul master, Yi Lingling, Wuhan, Jinuxin Haitang, level 38 auxiliary weapon soul master. Soon, the members of the Imperial fighting team announced themselves one after another and introduced their martial arts and soul powers. What do you think, His Royal Highness? Meng Shenji turned around and looked at Qian Renxue with a smile, but Qian Renxue narrowed her eyes slightly and said with a smile, I didn't expect that in this year our Imperial fighting team would have 3 more soul masters. Now with the addition of Brother Guling, the Soul King, this time the Pan-Continental Soul Masters as the champion of the elite competition, our Qian Dou Empire has great hope. Yes, I hope I can win the championship this time. Meng Shenji said expectantly. While Qian Renxue and Meng Shenji were talking, Yu Qianheng suddenly walked up to them. Dream Education Committee, Qianheng, what's the matter with you? Meng Shenji turned around and asked. Yu Qianheng's eyes were like a torch, staring at Lingtian with fighting spirit, and said, Meng Education Committee, I want to have a discussion with classmate Guling to intuitively feel the gap between Soul Sect and Soul King. He didn't doubt Lingtian's strength. It's just that, now that he has transformed into 2 parts of the dragon, he is at the level of the 43rd Soul Sect, and he will not be much worse, even if he faces the Soul King. Therefore, he wants to challenge Lingtian and prove that he is the absolute core of the royal fighter team. He is not someone who gives up easily. Even if his soul power is 1 level apart, he dares to fight. This was the case in the previous competition between Soul Master and Lingtian. This Meng Shenji hesitated for a moment, looked at Qian Renxue and said, what do you think, Your Highness? Ancient brother, what do you think? Qian Renxue asked. Yes. Lingtian nodded. Meng Shenji was relieved. That's good. There is just a ring here, so let's go there. But, Lingtian and Yu Qianheng had no opinion. They nodded and followed the dream god machine to the ring in front. Nemphazun. The two boarded the ring. Yu Qianheng hugged his fists in both hands. Shen Sheng said, Yu Qianheng, 43 levels of strong attacks are war soul divisions. Wuhan Blue Electric Tyrannosaurus, please advise. Go. Ling, the 51st level of attack is the Soul Division. Wu Solbing, please advise. Lingtian said. Wuhan. Possess. Yu Qianheng. Lowered a drink. The strong breath of the blue electric Tyrannosaurus was instantly released, and the eye-catching blue light suddenly lit up from the heart of Yu Qianheng's eyebrows. The purple excitement burst out like a small snake, walking around his body point unlike before. At this moment his left and right arms have a dragonization. The sleeves on both sides burst into ashes due to the expansion of the arms, and the length of the arm increased by more than half a foot. The entire arm was extremely thick, covered with blue-purple scales, which had completely separated from the category of human beings. I made a pair of dragon arms at the same time. His hands became paws, covering the same scales, and the blue-purple snake electric circled around him kept condensing or flowing on his arm, full of power of destruction and explosion. At the same time, the 2 yellows and 2 purple rings rose slowly from his feet. Yu Qianheng looked at the indifferent Lingtian and said, "Don't you release the martial arts?" "No need." Lingtian said calmly. There was no emotional fluctuation in his eyes. "Ready?" Yu Qianheng's voice could not help but bring angered. Dream Shenji has swept away the 2 and asked Shensheng, "Are both of you ready?" Gugu that's good. The game starts. As soon as the words fell, Yu Qianheng Yangshan heard a dragon roar. The next moment, Yu Qianheng immediately made the 3rd soul skills. The Thunder's anger increased her attack power by 100%, doubled, and the soul power increased by 50%. The first soul skills, Thunder Dragon Claw. Yushan rose into the air, and the first soul ring flickered on her body, and the Thunder Dragon Claw's condensed shot towards Lingtian's position point. But when the Dragon Claw comes to his body, Lingtian will avoid it. Seeing a hit, Yu Qianheng was not discouraged, and a touch of electric mang flashed in his eyes. The second soul skills, Thunder. Several thick blue-purple lightning dropped from the sky and turned into a blue electric bully dragon shadow. Immediately weaving was an extremely huge, very dense power grid, covering him with Lingtian's battle, so you can't avoid it. When the words were falling, Yu Qianheng leaned back to the sky and made a bright dragon chant. At the same time, the original clear sky became dark clouds, and the lightning spreads. From the layers of cloud groups, countless lightnings are like flowing water number together in front of Yu Qianheng. 4th soul skills, Blue Electric Dragon Disease. Pay the price for your arrogance. Immediately after Yu Qianheng's double claws were held in front of her chest, countless lightning gathered into a virtuous blue electric Tyrannosaurus dragon. It was more than 1 meter long, and roared to Lingtian. "Oh, one dragon? Then use this trick to end." Lingtian whispered, squinting his eyes and staring at the blue dragon in the air. At the same time, his arm waved, and the countless frost power gathered in front of him. The next moment, a louder dragon yin sounded. The power of countless frost condenses into a prestigious ice dragon. Even if it is no more than the blue electric Tyrannosaurus dragon, it is not the same as the blue dragon. It is also whistling to the blue electric Tyrannosaurus dragon. Boom. The 2 dragons collided in the air. Long yin sounded one after another, constantly sounding from the mouth of the 2 dragons, and at the same time, the blue-purple electrophoretic and ice blue ice kept impacting towards each other. Wine in the blink of an eye, the 2 dragons had split the victory and defeat. The blue electric Tyrannosaurus dragon condensed by Yu Qianheng is still weaker than the ice dragon replaced by Lingtian. It was torn by the dragon body by the power of the frost of the sky, leaving only a little flashing electric light. How is it in the unbelievable eyes of Yu Qianheng? The dragon of the ice screamed. Boom. A loud noise came, and the ice dragon had hit Yu Qianheng's chest. As the dragon disappeared, the power of frost instantly wrapped Yu Qianheng's whole body and wrapped it. Boom. After a while, the fog generated by the frost condensed slowly disappeared. In the position of Yu Qianheng before, only a rice coffin condensed from ice was left, and Yu Qianheng was frozen at the moment and could not move in it. Lingtian, who was standing opposite him, was as harmful as he was at the beginning. The victory has been divided, and the view is high, compared to the previous test of the Soul Sect. This time the battle is even more simply. From the beginning to the end, Lingtian only used 1 move, and Yu Qianheng immediately ended the battle. The gap between Yu Qianheng and Lingtian did not expect him to be chased by him. Instead, the gap between the strength of time and shift was continuously expanding. Just as Lingtian said at the beginning, the person I was defeated, I would no longer be for the opponent. I will give you time to catch up until you see it away. The current Yu Xianheng is far from Lingtian's opponent. Lingtian jumped up and jumped down from the ring. His Royal Highness, let's go. Qian Renxue slightly spoken and said, Dream Education Commission, Ben Palace and Guling brothers take one step first. When the finals, the Guling brothers will appear in the Emperor's team. The words have just fallen, and they have not waited for the Dream God machine to respond. Qian Renxue left in front of the players who were stunned from Lingtian. Genius, this is a real genius. It wasn't until Qian Renxue and Lingtian left and the Ming Shenji retracted his eyes and sighed. He has taught countless students in his life, but has never seen geniuses like Lingtian. Then he walked to Yu Xianheng's side, gently patted his palm with a soft soul power click. Click, the ice coffin suddenly appeared cracks, and the next second came out of the ice with a violent drinking Yu Xianheng. It is a good thing to have self-confidence, but the blind self-confidence is self-righteous, and the result of overestimation will be the same as today. Teacher, Xianheng was taught. Yu Xianheng's face was red, and he lowered his head, guilt, knowing, shame and bravery. Ming Shuji was holding a beard, and Shen Sheng said, being defeated by yourself and waking up in advance is always better than death in the hands of the enemy. Xianheng understands. Yu Xianheng said, P.S. The block chapter 184 has been unblocked. You can go and take a look. Chapter 194 Sister Zhu here. ITN-039. S time to talk. Okay, let's continue training with the Imperial Fighter team. With Guling joining this Soul Master competition, I'm full of expectations for this Soul Master competition. Meng Shenji said with emotion, yes, teacher, you. Xianheng nodded, and then continued training with the members of the Imperial fighting team. Although the other members of the Imperial team didn't say anything, Lingtian had used his own strength to leave an indelible mark in their hearts. The colors are bright and the stars are sparse. Tian Dou Empire, in the study room of the prince's mansion. Ever since she revealed her true identity to Lingtian that day, Qian Renxue no longer pretended to be a girl when the two were alone. The melon seed face contains a classical charm, and the skin is like cream, dreamy and poetic, exuding a faint mist and soft luster, which seems to be smoother than silk and satin, and whiter than jade. The head has a furry eyebrow, the eyes are bright and the teeth are white. The lips are like rose petals, delicate and charming. Her silky golden hair flowed freely behind her in her pure and clear eyes. There is a faint mist, and fluorescent lights flicker, like a slightly rippling water wave. Her charming eyelashes are curled, trembling gently from time to time. They are as smooth as silk, and there are still hairs under the long hair. The exposed neck is as charming as a swan, as white as jade. At this moment, she was sitting on the chair with a calm face, looking at the memorial in her hand attentively, reaching out to flip through it from time to time. Her slender jade fingers as white and tender as green onions, inadvertently brushing away the broken hair on her forehead and gently pulling them back. Behind the ear, the whole body, every gesture, naturally exudes an indescribable demure charm. That look, that movement, that expression, everything is beautiful, charming, natural and harmonious. Lingtian, on the other hand, sat aside and quietly looked at this beautiful picture like a scroll. Just like that, I don't know how long it took. Qian Renxue finally put down the memorial in her hand, stood up from her seat and stretched. I'm sorry, Ziotian. She raised her head and stared at Lingtian with her gentle eyes. There was a hint of apology in her eyes, and she said, the memorial has been delayed for too long in the past 2 days, so some time was wasted. It's okay. I also want to stay with Sister Zua, Lingtian said as he walked to Qian Renxue and handed over a cup of prepared hot tea. Only you can talk. Qian Renxue smiled, raised her jade hand to take the teacup from Lingtian, and took a sip. Sister Zua, Lingtian suddenly called out. What's wrong? Qian Renxue asked. Lingtian put away the smile on his face and said seriously, I plan to go to the 7 Treasures glazed sect tomorrow. Qian Renxue was slightly stunned, put down the teacup in her hand, and said, 7 Treasures glazed sect, why do you want to go there? After the teacher found out that I was assassinated by Lingxia Palace, He massacred Lingtian Palace for me. Now that I'm back, I have to tell the teacher this news. Lingtian said seriously. Shenzhen did his best for him, and as a disciple, he naturally wanted to inform him when he came back this time. You're right, Qian. Renxue thought for a moment and then said slowly, at that time, Sword Douluo killed all the strongholds of Lingtian Palace in the Qian Dou Empire for you, and Sword Douluo's strength should be told to him. If you are not weak, I will be able to contribute to your plan when the time comes. Then, I will go to the Qibao glazed sect tomorrow. Lingtian asked. Qian Renxue nodded slightly and said, well, I will go with you tomorrow. No need. Lingtian waved his hand and said calmly, I can go to the Qibao glazed sect alone, so I won't bother Sister Zua to accompany me. How? Are you going to go there alone? Don't forget that your current identity is not Lingtian. I'm afraid you will be stopped as soon as you arrive at the entrance of Qibao glazed sect. Qian Renxue glanced at Lingtian and reminded, Sister Zua, don't worry about this. With Chen Zi's hidden soul skill, we can easily bypass the guards. When the time comes, as long as we see Uncle Ning or the teacher, everything will be solved. Moreover, Sister Zhu here, as the crown prince of the Qian Dou Empire, the goal of taking me to the 7 treasures glazed sect is too big and will easily be noticed by the people of Lingtian Palace, so it is most appropriate for me to go to the 7 treasures glazed sect alone. Lingtian explained. After a moment of silence, Qian Renxue nodded and said, you are right, but I didn't think it through properly before. I know Sister Zua is worried about me. Lingtian smiled slightly and reached out to hold Qian Renxue's jade hand. As long as you don't think I'm nosy. When Qian Renxue said this, a sad look appeared in her eyes and face, and she said slowly, I'm more than 10 years older than you. If you wait until the day when I'm old and yellow, if you don't mind. No. Lingtian held Qian Renxue's catkins and said seriously, even if that day comes, I will never dislike Sister Zua. Zhaoshan, looking at Lingtian. Qian Renxue in front of her eyes moved slightly, and 2 alluring blushes appeared on her cheeks at this moment. Lingtian slowly stood up. He walked up to Qian Renxue and spoke word by word close to his ear. I will always like, and will only like Sister Zhu here. Lingtian stretched out his hand and gently stroked the hair next to his ears. Looking at Qian Renxue's peerless face, so close at hand, he breathed in the gentle and pleasant virgin scent of musk emitting from her body, and his body couldn't help but move forward slowly. Get closer slowly. And because Lingtian continued to approach, Qian Renxue also leaned back on the chair. In the end, she couldn't avoid it. Lingtian also stopped at this time, looking at Qian Renxue with his ice blue eyes without blinking. Zhaoshan. You. Qian Renxue was slightly startled. Lingtian said softly, Sister Zua, do you still remember that someone seemed to owe me a condition this morning? Of course I remember. Qian Renxue pushed Lingtian in front of her, rolled her eyes at him, and asked, tell me, what request do you want to make? Lingtian looked at Qian Renxue's red lips, and the meaning was self-evident. You little bastard, you only know these things. Qian Renxue understood instantly. Her face turned red, and she glared at Lingtian with her phoenix eyes. Sister Zhu here, you must keep your word. Lingtian leaned close to Qian Renxue's ear and said every word. HMPH. I always keep my word. Qian Renxue snorted coldly, but did not push Lingtian away, but closed her eyes shyly. Seeing Qian Renxue's reaction of not ruling it out, Lingtian raised a smile at the corner of his mouth, and then without any hesitation, he captured the alluring red lips. The moist and soft feeling made both of them involuntarily intoxicated. At the same time, he put his hands around Qian Renxue's slender waist and subconsciously attacked some unknown mysterious field. Chapter 195. No, really no more. Qiu. Oh, suddenly, Qian Renxue's body shook. River crab -n emitted in the middle of everyone's brain supplement. Little bastard, where do you learn these unruly things? Qian Renxue turned red instantly, raised his hand on Lingtian's head. That's all in the words. Lingtian looked at Qian Renxue and spread out the innocent path. Give me all your words. Qian Yan Zufeng's eyes stared slightly, looking at Lingtian, and said, if you are not allowed to see things about this, if you let me find out, you know, can you leave a few books? Lingtian thought for a while, raised his head and said seriously, cannot. Qian Yangsu didn't think about it and directly rejected Lingtian's request, then finally leave another one. Lingtian tentatively, get. Qian Renxue looked at Lingtian, who kept trying to try his bottom line, and suddenly appeared a few black lines on his forehead, and directly raised a slender jade leg to Lingtian. How many books? One book. Do you think of the vegetable market here? Do you bargain with me? I'm notifying that you have handed all the words. There is no room for discussion. Seeing this, Lingtian quickly loosened the hands of Qian Renxue, and at the same time supported the desktop with his right hand, and one side turned on Qian Renxue's foot. Don't stay, don't stay, don't stay one by one. Qian Renxue glanced at Lingtian fiercely, and at the same time, stretched out the jade hand, to discuss the painting book. Well, when Lingtian saw this, he could only sigh helplessly, and then he thought about the storage space, and took out the squeezing it with half a meter high. This is the only spiritual pillar in the killing capital of this year. Now all I have to hand over to charge. Really reluctant, two long and straight jade legs of Qian Renxue were put together, holding hands on his chest, leaning on the back of the chair, watching Lingtian pull out one book one after another. Except for this, is there any in your hand? No. More. Really gone. Lingtian quickly shook his head and emphasized, there is no drop. Qian Renxue snorted coldly, and then put all the paintings on the ground with a wave of jade, and at the same time, he showed a serious look. Don't buy this kind of things in the future. I know. Lingtian blinked, and said seriously. After a while, Lingtian moved to Qian Renxue again, and a sad murmur said, Sister Zhu here, it's not too early, I should go back, so can I give me a hug before leaving? Hugs are fine, but don't mess up. Qian Renxue hesitated for a moment, and finally nodded. Lingtian's mouth raised a smile, and then opened his arms to hold Qian Renxue in his arms. This time the hug. Lingtian was very honest, and his hands did not move around Qian Renxue. Qian Renxue finally let go and began to enjoy this hug between the two. The two just hugged like this for almost a minute. Sister Zhu here, I'm gone, Lingtian said softly next to Qian Renxue, and then ended up the hug and let go of Qian Renxue, picked up the ice silk mask on the table, and worn on the face. The last one opened the door, and left the study. Little bastard, never leave me. Looking at Lingtian's gradually drifting figure, Qian Renxue held his hands, and murmured in his heart, after a while, Xianyu Hotel. After coming out of Prince's mansion, Lingtian did not delay time, so he quickly returned to the hotel. And Chenzi has been waiting in the room for a long time. Lord Chenzi said. Lingtian nodded, said, what are the guys in Lingxia Temple? The subordinates have disclosed their whereabouts to the royal cavaliers of the Dao. Now the people in Lingxia Temple want to continue collecting information, and they must be risked at any time, that they may be discovered by those knights at any time. Chen Zhe reported, so the reason why the hunting ground is martial law today is also because of your reasons. Yes, very good. Continue. Lingtian's eyes showed a satisfactory look, followed by, before the end of the Heavenly Dao Empire advanced, at least half of their hands were damaged, but all the actions should be hidden. Lingxia Dan can't let them discover your existence. But the matter of Lingxia Temple will be put down first. You need to accompany me to Kibao Liulizang, understand? Chenzi said. Lingtian slightly sighed, and said, okay, we will leave tomorrow morning, and now it is too late, you can go back to rest early. Yes, Chen Z nodded, then got up, and left the room. Kibao Liulizang. Lingtian got up and walked to the windowsill, looking up at the direction of Kibao Liulizang, and murmured, I don't know what the teacher is now. When I first entered the Kibao Liulizang, Chen Zin's love for himself did not hide it. He also taught himself without reservation. When he returned from the north of the north, and he knew that the heart was for himself, when he opened the killing ring and various bases of Lingxia Temple, he let him feel the care of the heart again and again. Teacher thinking of this, Lingtian couldn't help looking forward to seeing tomorrow. I haven't seen the teacher for more than a year, and I don't know what the teacher will look like this meeting. The time passed away, and the day and night reversed day and night in the blink of an eye, and changed from night to day. Kibao Liulizang. At this moment, Zhangman is holding a meeting. Ning Fengzi is sitting on the center of the center. The left and right sides are high-powered elders, and the front positions sitting on both sides are the heart and ancient ban iron. In the case of hidden weapon, the elders notify you, you must rush to the end of the first batch of hidden weapons at the end of this year, all of which are sent to all disciples in the Douluo sect. And rest assured, well, then here today, Ning Feng was the first, and said, Uncle Bone, Uncle Jian, do you keep it? Let's go down first. Yes. After the elders got up and gave a gift, they exited the hall in an orderly manner. After a while, there were only Gurang and Ningfeng. Ningfeng's he looked at the two, slowly, Uncle Bone, Uncle Jian, how do you think Tang San's child, you, can invest well? Gurang groaned for a moment, and said, twins martial arts, Hey Ocean Hammer and Blue Silver Grass, adding congenital full soul power, and those hidden weapons he tinked. I believe Heio Xianzong will never let it go. Such a genius with the title. When he returns to Heio Xianzong in the future, we can also buy them in advance. Chapter 196 Teacher, Iron-039, back to Seek Moon. I was criticized earlier. I changed the content, and it should be released at noon tomorrow. Uncle Jian, what do you think? Ning Fengzi nodded slightly, and looked at Chen Xin aside. Can Chen Xin was silent for a moment and continued, Fengzi, you and Lao Gu continue. There are still some things that need to be dealt with at Giant Feng, so I will go back first. As soon as he finished speaking, Chen Xin walked away with his sword, while looking at Chen Xin's retreating figure. Ning Fengzi couldn't help but sigh and said, almost 2 months have passed, and Uncle Jian still hasn't been able to get over that incident. I don't know when I can let it go. Coming out easier said than done. Rang shook his head and sighed. That guy passed all his skills to Lingtian, and he had high hopes for the child who treated him like a son. How do you expect him to accept his sudden death now? Leave all this to time. I hope he can come out as soon as possible. Ning Fengzi suddenly asked, by the way, Uncle Gu, how is the situation at Lingxue Palace? Ever since the fight with the two of us, it's as if those guys have never appeared before. They have completely disappeared without any news. Gurang shook his head. Then, let's put the matter of Lingxue Palace aside for now. I have another thing to ask Uncle Gu. What happened yesterday? At the hunting ground, King was accompanied by a young man. His Majesty said that the young man had already reached the level of sulking at the age of 14. So I wanted to trouble Uncle Gu to investigate the identity of the child. Now King is in trouble because of the Imperial battle team. I was anxious about something, but at this critical moment, the child happened to appear next to King. I always felt that the identity of this child must not be simple. Rang pondered for a moment and asked doubtfully, do you suspect that he is from another force? But they are willing to send out such a genius. I'm also a little unsure, so I asked Uncle Gu to check it out. Ning Fengzi changed the topic and continued, if there is no problem with his identity, we can try to contact him. I'll make arrangements now. Gurang nodded slightly. Giant Feng at this moment, Chen Xin stood alone on the highest mountain point when Lingtian was in Kibao Glazed sect. He stood here and watched Lingtian's cultivation from sunrise to sunset every day without stopping. It's still the same place now, but the person is no longer there. Chen Xin never thought that the farewell to the Kibao Glazed sect would become an eternal farewell for their master and disciple. He wiped out all the Lingxue palaces in Qian Dou City. But what's the use? The apprentice he had high hopes for could never come back. Thinking of this, Chen Xin's eyes flashed with sadness. Well, with a sigh, Chen Xin looked away. Just as he was about to leave, a faint voice seemed to suddenly come from behind him. Teacher, who? Chen Xin turned around subconsciously. But there was nothing behind him, and when he looked around, there was still nothing. Hallucinated. At this moment, another voice came from behind, and this time the sound was much clearer than before, giving Chen Xin a familiar feeling. Teacher, Gu little got. Chen Xin was shocked and turned around again. But this time, there was no longer anything behind him, but there was someone very familiar to him. Hallucination. Chen Xin rubbed his eyes, subconsciously thinking that he was dazzled. Ocean. But when he opened his eyes again, the familiar figure was still standing there. Teacher, I'm back. Lingtian slowly took off the ice silk mask on his face. Whoosh. Before he finished speaking, Chenzin instantly appeared next to Lingtian. Looking at the familiar disciple in front of him, Chenzin suddenly held his breath, stretched out his arms tremblingly, and hovered in the air for a long time, before landing on Lingtian's head. Only when he felt the real touch did Chenzin finally breathe a sigh of relief. I'm back. Really? I'm back. Seeing Chenzin's reaction, Lingtian's eyes turned red, and he bent down deeply and said, "Teacher, my disciple has made you worried. It'll be good to come back. It'll be good to come back." Zin didn't say much. He just kept repeating one sentence. A moment later, Jian Feng courtyard. Similar to what he explained to Qian Renxue before, Lingtian told Chenzin what happened. The inheritance of gods. I didn't expect that I would have the opportunity to witness the growth of a god. Chenzin laughed loudly, his eyes full of joy for his apprentice. He also heard a little bit about the gods. I originally thought this was just a legend, but I didn't expect it to actually happen to my apprentice. Chenzin is sincerely happy for Lingtian. The better the apprentice, the more capable the teacher is in his opinion. His disciple becoming a god is more deserving of happiness than becoming a god himself. Teacher, when I was rushing back to Qian Dou City, I heard on the road that you had fought with Grandpa Gu in the titled Douluo of Lingtian Palace. Lingtian poured a cup of tea for Chenzin and then continued to ask, "Well, it does happen." Zin put down the teacup, recalled for a moment, and said slowly, "That day, two titled Douluo wearing dragon and tiger masks, claiming to be from Lingtian Palace, suddenly came to the sect and threatened to challenge me and Old Bones. As the elders of the sect, we naturally accepted their challenge, and then we fought against these two guys at the back of the sect. Although Old Bones and I won in the end, those two guys must have hidden their strength. And the strength of soul power I felt from them was definitely more than what they showed. Then, the teacher thinks, why do they do this?" Lingtian asked. "Show the strength of their Lingtian Palace. The 5 titled Douluo challenge all the well-known powers on the mainland one after another. This can spread the reputation of their Lingtian Palace as quickly as possible and let all the soul masters on the mainland know about them. The strength." Chenzin changed the topic and said slowly, "So Ocean, if you want to deal with Lingtian Palace, you must take a long-term approach. With the apparent strength they have shown now, they have far surpassed most of the forces on the mainland. Even Archibeo Glazed sect is no match for them. You know my personality. I won't take action without being completely sure." Lingtian smiled slightly and said confidently, "Let me know when I'm about to take action. Although I'm no match for their palace master, I can still stop a few titled Douluo." Chenzin said calmly. If his apprentice is assassinated, of course the master will take action. He didn't catch up when he was in the killing city, so he couldn't miss it this time, both emotionally and rationally. "Teacher, don't worry." Lingtian felt warm in his heart and nodded. "If you need help, I won't be polite to you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 197. Familiar feeling? Asking for the moon. Chenzin suddenly thought of something, put down the teacup in his hand, and asked, "So before the start of the Soul Master competition, do you plan to hide your identity?" What? About Feng Zhi and Lao Gugu? Uncle Ning and Grandpa Gu are fine. There is no need to hide the news of my return from them. Then, Master, please inform them to come over now. Lingtian smiled mysteriously and said softly, "It just so happens that I haven't seen them for a long time, but teacher, please keep it a secret from them first. I want to give Uncle Ning and Grandpa Gu a surprise. You, kid, you won't be restless when you come back." Zin smiled helplessly, but did not refuse Lingtian's proposal. He also wanted to see what Feng Zhi and Lao Gugu's expressions would look like when they saw the resurrected Lingtian queen again. He shouldn't be disappointed. Immediately, Chenzin took out the communication soul guide and sent a message to Ning Fengxi asking them to come to Jian Peak quickly. "Okay, Fengxi and the others will be here in a few minutes, teacher." Then I'm going to hide for a while. Go. Lingtian bowed his hands and then hid in the room in Giant Feng courtyard. At the same time, in the main hall of the Kibao glazed sect. Gurong, who had just finished the discussion, was about to go when the communication soul guide happened to receive a message from Chenzin. He turned around and saw Ning Fengzi also taking out the communication soul guide. Gurong asked, "Did you also receive Fengzi, Ning?" Fengzi nodded and said, "Well, Uncle Jian also asked me to come over." "What is this coward doing?" Gurong asked in confusion. "Let's go there first, Ning." Fengzi pondered for a moment and said, "Uncle Jian is calling us in such a hurry. Something big must have happened." Gurong nodded and immediately set off with Ning Fengzi. Ning Fengzi and Gurong were not slow, and they did not waste time along the way, so they arrived at Giant Feng from the main hall in a short while. As soon as they entered the door, they saw Chenzin sitting in the courtyard drinking tea. Chenzin put down the teacup, narrowed his eyes and smiled. "Fengzi, old bones, you are here." Gurong crossed his arms, looked at Chenzin, and asked directly, "You called us here in such a hurry. What happened, Uncle Jian? What's important?" Ning Fengzi stepped forward. Chenzin shook his head, looked at the ajar door in the house, and said slowly, "I'm not looking for you. Everyone has been called for you. Why don't you come out quickly, Ning?" Fengzi and Gurong looked at each other. Just when the two of them were confused, a sound of footsteps came from behind them. Crunch. Gurong and Ning Fengzi looked over intently and happened to see a young man wearing a blue gold mask walking from the courtyard. As at him, Ning Fengzi's pupils shrank and he instantly recognized this person as the sulking boy who appeared at the hunting ground with King yesterday. "Fengzi, do you know him?" Gurong asked doubtfully. Ning Fengzi calmed down a little, nodded slightly, and said, "He is the child I just told you about. I didn't expect that he would appear here with Uncle Jian." "What? A coincidence?" Gurong's eyes showed a little surprise. Looking at the young man's figure, Gurong suddenly thought of something, turned his head, and murmured in a low voice, "But I always feel that this child gives me a very familiar feeling." "Fengzi, do you feel this way?" Gurong familiar feeling. Upon hearing what Gurong said, Ning Fengzi narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at the young man up and down. "He feels this way too." Taking a closer look, the boy's figure also seemed familiar to him. Also, why did he appear in Jianfeng? Could it be that Uncle Jian knows this young man, but why has he never heard Uncle Jian mention it? Ning Fengzi looked at Chenzin doubtfully and said, "Uncle Jian, who is he? Do you say it yourself, or do I say it for you?" Chenzin turned his head and said to Lingtian, who was beside him, "I'll do it myself." Lingtian said with a smile. Then he turned around and looked at Ning Fengzi and Gurong. At this moment, Ning Fengzi and Gurong were looking at the master and apprentice who were puzzled. "Uncle Ning, Grandpa Gu, long time no see. You are hearing this familiar title." Ning Fengzi and Gurong were both stunned, and a look of disbelief appeared in their eyes. This familiar voice and familiar figure, but hasn't he already? Just when the two of them were confused, Lingtian slowly took off his mask. "Xiaoshan, Uncle Ning, Grandpa Gu, I'm back." Before he finished speaking, a dark shadow flashed past. Gurong had already arrived in front of Lingtian and looked around Lingtian carefully. Gurong patted Lingtian on the shoulder, unable to conceal the excitement in his tone, and said, "You are really your kid, Grandpa Gu. Who else could it be, if you weren't me?" Lingtian spread his hands and said with a chuckle. Ning Fengzi walked to Chenzin, looked at Lingtian aside, and asked softly, "Uncle Jian, what on earth is going on?" "Yeah, coward, what's going on here?" Gurong also looked at Chenzin. "Xiaoshan, Chen." Zin looked at Lingtian aside and said, "Explain it to Feng Zhi and the others yourself." Lingtian nodded and said, "Uncle Ning, Grandpa Gu, please sit down first. Teacher, he just found out about it, so let me explain the reason to you." Then the three of them sat together and began to listen to Lingtian's explanation of the reasons. Chenzin, who just knew the truth of the matter, would also add a few words from time to time to help Lingtian explain the reasons better. "I see, Ning." Fengzi suddenly smiled and said gently, "I was also talking about how a young genius suddenly appeared next to King, and he seemed to attach great importance to him. It turns out that this person is you, Xiaoshan. I originally wanted to ask Uncle Gu to investigate your identity, but now there is no need to investigate anymore. But, Xiaoshan, your soul power seems to be improving faster again. Just about a year after you were promoted to Soul Sect, you actually raised your soul power to the Soul King realm again. Thinking of this, Ningfengzi couldn't help but sigh. There were so many people at that time that I didn't have time to explain it to Uncle Ning. As for the soul power, as I continued to practice, I broke through and became the Soul King. Lingtian spread his hands and said, as long as you're still alive, Ning. Fengzi waved his hand and said with emotion point, because in his heart, he has always regarded Lingtian as the future of the Qibao glazed sect, so he is happy from the bottom of his heart that Lingtian can come back alive point, and besides that, Uncle Jian will no longer be depressed point. As soon as Lingtian came back, Ningfengzi clearly noticed that the smile on Chenzin's face had obviously increased. Little got grandpa. Gu, what's wrong? Chapter 198. I will make it clear to my senior sister. Gu Ran looked at Chenzin aside, rolled his eyes, and said with a smile, you may not know yet, but because of your affairs during this period, your teacher has not missed a single person on Jianfeng old bones. Do you want me to loosen your bones again? Chenzin narrowed his eyes, and his sharp eyes swept over Gu Ran. How dare you expose yourself in front of his apprentice? It seems that he should be competing with old bones. He hasn't moved his muscles for a long time, so this guy feels like he can do it again. Come here, do you think I'm really afraid of you? Gu Ran frowned and said, rolling up his sleeves and preparing to go out to compete with Chenzin, although he knew he couldn't beat the Dusty Heart point, but you must not give in at this time. Gu Ran also wants to save face. Uncle Jian, Uncle Bone, Ning Fengzi interrupted the two of them, then looked at Lingtian and said slowly, I heard Uncle Jian just now. Do you plan to take action against Lingxia Palace? I have developed a grudge against them. Lingtian nodded and said in a deep voice, even if I don't take action against Lingxia Palace, they will not give up on assassinating me, so it is better to take this opportunity to completely eliminate the hidden dangers of Lingxia Palace in the Soul Master competition. Ning, don't worry, uncle, since I dare to be sure of the layout of Lingxia Palace. In that case, Ning Fengzi pondered for a moment, a firm look flashed in his eyes, and he said seriously, Xiaoshan, the attitude of our Qibao glazed sect is the same as Uncle Jian. As long as you need our help, the Qibao glazed sect will definitely help you, uncle. Ning, a look of surprise flashed in Lingtian's eyes. He never thought that Ning Fengzi could do this. Even though they say similar things, their meanings are completely different. When Chenzin said that, he was speaking for himself personally point. But when Ning Fengzi said this, he was representing the entire Qibao glazed sect point. In other words, Ning Fengzi is helping him again in the name of the sect this time. At the same time, it also means that the Qibao glazed sect and Lingxia Palace are completely on opposite sides. If anything goes wrong in this assassination operation, the Qibao glazed sect will definitely be punished. Lingxia Palace's target. Xiaoshan, you are a disciple of our Qibao glazed sect. Ning Fengzi looked at Lingtian and said seriously, sect disciples have been bullied by others. Of course we elders must stand up for you, Feng. ZHI is right, we disciples of Qibao glazed sect cannot be bullied by others. Gu Ran responded point. Although Chenzin didn't say anything, he slowly nodded in agreement with Ning Fengzi's opinion. I see. Lingtian took a deep breath and nodded with a warm feeling in his heart. As for your identity, don't worry, we will not disclose your plan to anyone before it starts. Ning Fengzi paused for a moment, then changed the topic and said, but Rang, I have to wait for you to explain it in person. That girl seems to have become a different person since she learned about your death. It's been a long time since I saw that girl smile. Uncle Ning, you know I have someone I like. Lingtian was stunned for a moment and quickly explained, I know there is someone you like in your heart, Ning. Fengzi looked at Lingtian and said with a wry smile, but you also know that Rang has always had feelings for you in his heart. As a father, it's hard for me to explain this matter clearly, so it's most appropriate for you to explain this matter in person. You and Rangrang are still brothers and sisters. I believe you don't want to see Rangrang depressed all the time, right? Uncle Ning, I understand what you mean. After a moment of silence, Lingtian said seriously, I will make it clear to senior sister when the time comes. Well, as long as you understand, Ning. Fengzi nodded, a smile appearing on his face. At the same time, he secretly thought in his heart, Rangrang, as a father, you can only do so much. How far you can go in the future depends on your own performance. Grandpa Gu Lingtian looked at Gurong and asked with a chuckle, I heard from the eldest brother, the prince, that you seem to have accepted the child I sent here as your disciple. That's right. Even I can't help but be moved by that child's talent. Gurong sighed with emotion. At that time, he also took a look at the martial soul awakening ceremony out of curiosity. Unexpectedly, he actually met a genius with innate soul power. He had always envied Chen Xin for receiving a swordsman genius like Lingtian. So, when he saw that Jiang Shu had such a talent, he took him under his tutelage without even thinking. Being accepted as your disciple, she has finally achieved her wish. Lingtian paused for a moment and said slowly, but that child has a rough life. Since you, Grandpa Gu, have accepted her as your disciple, in addition to your usual practice to improve your soul power, you'd better pay attention to this child's mental state. Evil soul, the psychological shadow caused by her teacher, is huge. If she doesn't pay more attention and guidance, she will easily go astray in her current state. Rang nodded slightly, glanced at Chen Xin, and said, I will pay attention to Jiang Shu's situation. I'm more experienced in teaching my disciples than your master, so I will naturally not let my disciples go astray. These two are indeed old friends. No matter what time, never forget to take each other with you. After a while, Lingtian stood up and said goodbye to the three of them. It's getting late. Teacher, Grandpa Gu and Uncle Ning, I'll go back first. Lingtian bowed his hands to the three of them one by one, and said in a deep voice, when the Soul Master competition is over, then return to the 7 treasures, glazed sect in an open and fair manner. Yeah. Ning Fengzi smiled. Let's go, brat. Gurong waved her hand and said, Master, I feel relieved knowing that you are still alive. Chen Xin nodded slightly. Chengxi, let's go, my lord. As soon as he finished speaking, a figure appeared next to Lingtian. Ning Fengzi asked, who is this? Uncle Ning, she is the senior title Douluo who saved me, as I told you before. She also took me quietly into the 7 treasures glazed sect, otherwise I would not be able to come in alone. Lingtian chuckled. Ning Fengzi nodded suddenly. Teacher, Uncle Ning, Grandpa Gu, we will leave first. As soon as he finished speaking, Lingtian walked up to Chengxi. Immediately afterwards, a loud phoenix sounded, and at the same time, the 4th soul ring behind Chengxi lit up, releasing brilliant colors to the surroundings. The 4th soul skill, Bing Yu Wuhan. The next second, the figures of Lingtian and Chengxi disappeared in front of Ning Fengzi and the others except for Chen Xin, who had the highest soul power and could vaguely detect the auras of the two. In the eyes of Ning Fengzi and Gurong, Lingtian and Chengxi seemed to have disappeared out of thin air. The rice blue wings flapped rapidly, leading Lingtian away from the Kibao glazed sect. Chapter 199. Living in the PRINCEN-039's mansion, being attacked at night. Seeking the moon. The moon is bright and the stars are sparse. Unknowingly, night has fallen quietly. Lord, where are we going? Chenzi asked. Let's go to the prince's mansion. Lingtian pondered for a moment and then said, you go back first then. I still have some things to deal with. Yes. The figure flickered in the morning light in midair, heading towards the prince's mansion at full speed. The distance between the Kibao glazed sect and the prince's mansion was not far to begin with. With Chenzi advancing at full speed with the spirit power of the title Douluo, he arrived near the prince's mansion in less than a quarter of an hour. Young master, I resign. Before sending Lingtian to the prince's mansion, Chenzi returned to the hotel without stopping. Prince's mansion. As soon as he returned to the house, Lingtian was taken back to the study by Qian Renxue. How's the situation? Qian Renxue asked, pushing a cup of tea to Lingtian. Lingtian blew the teacup in his hand, took a sip, and said softly, Sister Zua, the Kibeo glazed sect has been solved. When we take action against Lingxia Palace, Uncle Ning will also help us. Then, has sect leader Ning mentioned anything else to you? Qian Renxue glanced at Lingtian and asked casually. The tone was very casual, and it really sounded like a casual question. But in fact, it was Qian Renxue who specifically asked this question. Ever since she knew that Ning Fengzi had thoughts about Zhaoshan, she began to worry about his contact with Zhaoshan, so she only asked these questions when she came back. She couldn't let the little bastard she raised get his beard cut off just because of her own negligence. Other things there really are. Lingtian thought for a while and said suddenly, it's about Ning Rangrang. He hopes that when this matter is over, I can go to Kibeo Glazed Sect to meet senior sister Rangrang. You agreed? Qian Renxue bit her silver teeth and asked softly, yes. Lingtian nodded and said helplessly, Uncle Ning has already said that, so I have no other choice but to agree. What Ning Fengzi said was reasonable, and there was no way he could refuse. And I also thought that I would take advantage of this moment to clarify all my relationship issues with senior sister Rangrang. Otherwise it would be impossible to drag it on forever. Lingtian added, old fox. Qian Renxue muttered through gritted teeth. She knew very well what Ning Fengzi was planning. Don't forget, he had always wanted to bring Lingtian and Ning Rangrang together. I guess this time is no exception. I still haven't given up on that idea, sister. Zua, what's wrong with you? Seeing Qian Renxue's face changing, Lingtian quickly took her hand and asked about the situation with concern. Fine. Qian Renxue took out her jade hand, looked at Lingtian in front of her, and suddenly asked, I ask you a question, and you must tell me truthfully. Okay. Lingtian said without hesitation. First question, besides me, have you ever liked anyone else? Qian Renxue stared at Lingtian and said slowly, no, without any pause. Lingtian said categorically, the only person I like is you, Sister Zua. What about Ning Rangrang? Qian Renxue asked tentatively. Sister Zua, what are you thinking about? Lingtian laughed dumbly and said, I have been with senior sister Rangrang for so long. If I liked her, I would have agreed to it as early as the last time Uncle Ning wanted to get engaged. Why would I wait until now? Yeah, that's right. Qian Renxue blinked her eyes and her expression became a little cute. Yes, how could she forget this? To put it in the most realistic terms, if Zhaoshan really liked Ning Rangrang, he would have agreed to Ning Fengzi a year ago, and Zhaoshan would never confess to him now. Really, caring leads to chaos. How could she forget this? Thinking of this, Qian Renxue's face turned crimson. At the same time, Lingtian finally reacted and said teasingly, Sister Zua, weren't you jealous just now? Who is jealous? Although she said so, Qian Renxue's pretty face became even more rosy. Sister Zua, don't worry. Lingtian stepped forward, held Qian Renxue in his arms, and said seriously, the person I like will always be you, and it will only be you. Qian Renxue nodded gently. Leaning gently on Lingtian's shoulder, listening to the steady heartbeat, his uneasy mood gradually stabilized. After a long time, the two ended their embrace. Sitting on the chair again, we began to talk about the next arrangements. The matter with the Kibeo Glazed Sect has been settled, and Lingtian has nothing to deal with now. He decided to listen to Qian Renxue's arrangements before the game started. Time passes minute by minute. In the blink of an eye, the night became darker and darker, and it was already late at night. Before I knew it, it's getting late, so I'll go back first. After looking at the night sky outside the house, Lingtian stood up and said goodbye to Qian Renxue, etc. At this moment, Qian Renxue suddenly called out to Lingtian and said, it's already very late, Zhaoshan, otherwise I would stay in the house tonight. Anyway, you have a new identity now. Lingtian wanted to refuse outright, but then I thought about it. My current identity is Guling, a genius recruited by Qian Renxue. There is no problem in staying in the prince's mansion. As for Chengxi, I just need to send her a message later. Then, please Sister Zua, please prepare a room for me. Well, I'll let them prepare now. A smile appeared on Qian Renxue's lips, and with a thought, she transformed into Zuking again, and went outside to instruct a few servants to clean up a room. There are many spare rooms in the prince's mansion. After a while, the servants in the mansion tidied up a guest room. After Lingtian said goodnight to Qian Renxue, he was led by the servants in the mansion to the prepared room. After blowing out the candles on the table, Lingtian lay on the pillow with his hands on the back of his head. I didn't expect to come back so soon. Thinking of Qian Renxue's jealous look just now, Lingtian couldn't help but bring up a smile, and a wave of sleepiness swept over him as he thought about it. Crunched just when Lingtian was about to fall asleep, the door to the room was slowly pushed open from the outside. Lingtian stood up from the bed in an instant, staring at the door with his eyes fixed on the door. At the same time, with a thought in his mind, the Bingji sword was already in his hand. Who? Xiaoshan, it's me. Just when the atmosphere was getting more and more tense, a familiar voice suddenly came from the door. Lingtian was stunned for a moment, dismissed the Bingji sword in his hand, and asked, Sister Zua, it's so late, and you don't know how to sleep in your room. Why are you here with me? Chapter 200 Tonight, I-039, am going to sleep here. Qiu. Qian Renxue said nothing, and slowly walked to Lingtian's bed. Only after this was the spiritual genius able to see clearly. Qian Renxue's pretty face was full of tears. He quickly asked with concern, Zua, sister, why are you crying? Qian Renxue said nothing, and threw herself into Lingtian's arms. Woo, she lay in Lingtian's arms, sobbing quietly. Sister Zua, what's going on? But Lingtian didn't allow Lingtian to think too much, so he quickly held Qian Renxue in his arms, patted her back gently, and kept whispering to soothe her emotions. When Qian Renxue stopped sobbing, Lingtian finally had the opportunity to ask, Sister Zua, what happened? Xiaoshan, I dreamed about you. I dreamed that you were surrounded and killed by many people. They were very powerful. I saw you fall in front of me covered in blood. As she spoke, Qian Renxue couldn't help crying again. I don't want you to die. I don't want you to die. Her eyes were already filled with tears, and she hugged Lingtian tightly with her jade hands, and repeated it over and over again. Sister Zua, in an instant, warmth surged from my heart. At the same time, an inexplicable emotion rushed straight into Lingtian's nose and eyes. He pursed his lips subconsciously. It was because of herself that Sister Zua lost her composure. She even leaned into her arms and cried loudly regardless of her image. It turns out that I occupy such an important position in Sister Zua's heart. Thinking of this, Lingtian's arms couldn't help but tighten a little more. Sister Zua, don't worry, it's just a dream. It's all fake. Look, aren't I fine and staying with you now? Lingtian hugged Qian Renxue and comforted her softly. I know it's a dream, but I'm afraid of you. Qian Renxue couldn't speak anymore. She hugged Lingtian tightly and buried her head deeply in the warm embrace. Feeling the familiar breath, the uneasiness in my heart gradually calmed down. She didn't know why she was dreaming about these things, but that dream was really real. It was as if it was really happening in front of her eyes, waking her up from her sleep. In addition, she had learned from the past experience of the killing city. So she hurried to Lingtian's room. As soon as she woke up, Qian Renxue feels that she is not a weak person. But the moment she saw Lingtian, the emotions in her heart could no longer be restrained. Tears welled up in my eyes uncontrollably. It's okay, I will stay with you. While Lingtian comforted Qian Renxue softly, he concentrated the power of frost in his palms. With the tapping movements, it continued to integrate into Qian Renxue's body, gradually stabilizing her uneasy mood. After a while, under Lingtian's gentle words of comfort, Qian Renxue finally calmed down. It was Lingtian who slowly let go and said in a gentle tone, Sister Zua, look, aren't I fine? First, I know, but that dream seems to be real. Qian Renxue was still lying in Lingtian's arms. Her voice was muffled and had a heavy nasal sound. Sister Zua, don't worry, I will definitely protect myself. Lingtian said seriously. What about the previous killing city? Qian Renxue raised her head and looked at Lingtian with red eyes. That was an accident and will never happen again in the future. Lingtian, you said confidently, with the life-saving means given by the Golden Dragon King and the Snow Emperor, there are few people on the mainland who can threaten you. Even if Zhu Wei attacks him again, he will definitely not succeed. Okay, Sister Zhua. Lingtian raised his hand to wipe the tears from the corners of Qian Renxue's eyes and said softly, it was just a nightmare. Don't think about these things. Go back and sleep. Maybe you will forget this matter tomorrow morning. Qian Renxue nodded slightly, let go of Lingtian, and walked down from the bed. Just when Lingtian breathed a sigh of relief and thought Qian Renxue was going back to the room, Qian Renxue stopped when she walked to the door again. Under Lingtian's puzzled gaze, he actually closed the door directly with his backhand. Sister Zhua, what are you trying to do? However, Qian Renxue didn't say anything. She just silently walked back to Lingtian's bed, looking at Lingtian unblinkingly with her dark purple eyes. Sister Zhua, it's time to go to bed so late. Lingtian touched his nose and reminded helplessly, no, it's time to sleep. Qian Renxue nodded, but still stood where she was. Lingtian coughed twice, glanced at Qian Renxue, and reminded, Sister Zhua, if I remember correctly, this seems to be my room. How about I take you back? Don't want. Qian Renxue looked at Lingtian quietly and said, I want to sleep here tonight. Sleep here? Lingtian was slightly stunned and said blankly, Sister Zhua, do you want to sleep here? Yeah. Qian Renxue nodded. Lingtian paused and said, if Sister Zhua likes it here, then I will give this room to Sister Zhua, and I will ask the servants in the mansion to find another one. That's not what I meant. Qian Renxue called Lingtian to stop and said word by word, what I mean is that I want you to stay in this room with me. This little bastard, you insist on me making it so clear. Qian Renxue said angrily in her heart, sleeping together? Lingtian was stunned on the spot. Right. Qian Renxue frowned slightly and said, why, do you mean you don't want to be with me? I want to, but then what else is there to say? No. Lingtian waved his hand and explained, I just thought again, is it too fast for us to do this? I'm not ready yet. What are you not prepared for? Qian Renxue asked inexplicably. It's not Sister Zhua who said you wanted to. That's not what I meant. Qian Renxue understood instantly. A blush immediately appeared on her delicate little face, and she gave Lingtian a look of embarrassment. Huh? Then Sister Zhua, what do you mean? Lingtian blinked and looked at Qian Renxue in confusion. What is this little bastard thinking about? Qian Renxue glared at Lingtian with her phoenix eyes, and then began to explain the meaning of her words just now. It turned out to be because of the nightmare before. Now, whenever Qian Renxue closes her eyes, that scene will appear in her mind, and will never go away. That's why she wanted to stay with Lingtian. Only in this way will the emotions in her heart be slightly stable. So, that's it. Lingtian slapped his forehead and nodded suddenly. Qian Renxue rolled her eyes and said, otherwise, what do you think? So Lingtian paused for a moment, raised his head, and looked at Qian Renxue, and said tentatively, Sister Zhua, do you still want to sleep with me tonight? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.